always tease each other. He was, after I gave birth, he was like, oh my gosh, if I lost you and I, went to the park with our 3 kids, I mean, think of the ladies I can. This is a horrible thing to say.
It was funny because last night we went in and, the White House looked beautiful. It was spectacular. And I was looking for some Fox News colleagues because this is for broadcast news.
It's hard to imagine how the woman once admired for her fashion sense and bright smile could find herself in the middle of a scandal that grows darker each day. Yet here we are, watching Blake Lively's reputation spiral as new leaks, receipts, and accusations come to light. From the outside, it might look like an abrupt and bizarre collapse. But the seeds of this controversy were planted long ago. Most people only caught on when her film with Justin Baldoni ignited a wave of negative buzz. At first, nobody suspected Blake herself was behind the drama. She tried to paint Justin as a calculating adversary who'd allegedly manipulated the public. But now, text messages, insider testimonies, and a slew of contradictory statements have forced the world to take a second look. And once you see what's tucked away in the evidence, you can't unsee it. The real beginning of this feud started quietly, when early interviews promoting the movie It Ends With Us gave some viewers a strange feeling about Blake's behavior. Instead of typical lighthearted banter, her interviews came across as dismissive and condescending. Someone would ask about Justin Baldoni's directorial style, and she'd pivot to her personal brand or crack a flippant joke that didn't quite land. It was so noticeable that fans who'd always adored her started digging up older interviews to see if something had changed, or if they had missed warning signs all along. In these older clips, she seemed to brush off interviewers, roll her eyes, or shift all attention onto herself, even when asked about another topic or co-star. The initial reaction was mild confusion. Was she just having an off day? Was the media exaggerating? But the more people watched, the more they saw that perhaps she wasn't the sweet, approachable star many believed her to be. Rather than accept that the criticism might have been a natural response to her own words and demeanor, Blake insisted Justin Baldoni and his team were smearing her. She went on the record saying they'd planted stories framing her as rude or overbearing. Her defense escalated from gentle pushback to onset. The Times article, however, raised eyebrows. Not because they'd never reported on conflict before, but because chunks of text messages were curiously edited. Sections of conversations were rearranged, emojis were removed, and certain lines were truncated. Justin's legal team began pointing out the discrepancies, suggesting Blake's narrative might not be as authentic as she claimed.
It's based on a beautiful, really important book, and it's about a young woman named Lily who confronts the generational cycles in her life and breaks them and ends the circle. And I hope people find it inspiring, and yet also, it's a film about a heavy topic. It's about domestic violence.
And find my way back to center. That is one thing I can assure you of. And I'm sorry I made you feel that way. That must have felt terrible. And I will for sure do better. That was not my best weekend, and I should have given it more time. And damn right, you got great friends if that's how you felt and they knew that. And we should all have friends like that, aside from the fact that they're two of the most creative people on the planet. The 3 of you guys together is unbelievable. Talk about energy and just to force all 3 of you. But I just wanted you to know that I didn't need that, because it's really good and it's going to make the movie sing like you said, and I'm excited to go through the whole movie with you. I'm just excited to spend time with you. I'm excited to be in your sphere and your presence, and for us to share creative juices together, although that sounds terrible. I think you and I have been trying to build a relationship, which I think we've done successfully. I mean, here we are.
And this quickly led to one of the most jarring twists in the saga: comparisons to Amber Heard's messy battle with Johnny Depp. It wasn't only the media making these comparisons. Even commentators who closely followed the Depp-Heard case noted patterns in Blake's tactics: manipulate the press, play the victim, and bank on public sympathy before the other side has a chance to respond. What set this story apart, though, was the suspicion that Blake had bigger plans. The chatter went beyond the idea of she's just covering up rude behavior. It hinted that she wanted more control, not just over her image, but possibly the entire film itself. Insiders suggested she tried to commandeer the editing process, demanded certain rewrites, and even roped in her husband, Ryan Reynolds, and good friend Taylor Swift to bolster her influence. According to multiple leaked messages, Blake would remind Justin she had heavy hitters in her corner, referencing them as if they were her personal secret weapons. It all sounded so melodramatic, like a behind-the-scenes soap opera starring A-listers who should have been focusing on a movie about serious issues. Eventually, Justin Baldoni's team fired back, disputing her claims one by one. The real blow to Blake's credibility started with messages about her supposedly private on-set experiences. She claimed Justin barged into her trailer uninvited while she was in the middle of pumping milk for her infant. She described it as invasive, disrespectful, and humiliating. That alone would typically generate sympathy. It's personal, maternal, and you can see how it could feel violating if it were true. Then the receipts surfaced. Text messages showed Blake explicitly telling Justin he could come over to her trailer while she was pumping. She even joked about it, and Justin's reply suggested he was anything but excited about the idea. He seemed uncertain and repeatedly gave her an out to change her mind. Suddenly, her story unraveled.
I mean, honestly, the way that I get into a character is through their style. So it was more about who Lily is that was so fascinating to me, is that she's a walking, talking contradiction, yet it's perfectly harmonious for her.
And I'm excited to have a creative partner in that with you. And it's just really exciting. There's so much more to say. There's so much I want to say. And there's one thing that I do need to say, which is, I am so sorry you have been through what you've been through with these other filmmakers and producers or whoever the people were that you worked with. It just pissed me off. I'm just still kind of blown away that this is the industry that we're in and that you've experienced that as a woman. And I know I don't need to say it, but that's not at all going to be or will be. Hopefully it's not been the experience with me. There's nothing more exciting to me like that I get to work with Blake Lively and have her, all of her. I mean, that's what I want. And so there's been no hesitancy with me sending you the final draft file. I am totally fine with that. The only reason I didn't send it today was because I was trying to implement and add your notes into my working draft, which is already like I'm all over that draft right now. So there's a whole bunch of new stars that are going to be collated pages. And I just haven't had a chance to send it to you.
What had been portrayed as an unannounced intrusion looked more like a friendly, consensual visit, and Justin's apparent confusion in the messages contradicted the notion he was forcing his way in. Another explosive detail involved the producer Jamie Heath. Blake claimed Jamie showed her graphic, borderline pornographic footage while discussing a scene in the script. If that were accurate, it would raise serious red flags. Except the footage was revealed to be a discreet clip from Jamie's wife giving birth, something he wanted to show as a reference for a realistic birthing scene in the movie. According to those who saw the actual footage, it was artistic and nowhere near the explicit violation Blake made it out to be. People began noting the pattern, the leaps in Blake's stories, how a personal birth video was twisted into a sickening invasion, or how an invitation to her trailer became a traumatic intrusion. But perhaps the most bizarre revelations center on allegations that Blake tried to hijack the entire creative process of It Ends With Us. Justin wasn't just an actor. He wrote, directed, and was deeply involved in shaping the film from the beginning. Yet leaked texts from producers imply Blake was demanding the final cut. She wanted to see all the daily footage, re-edit certain scenes, and even piece together her own directorial vision behind Justin's back. Strangely enough, she apparently believed she had enough clout to push him aside. Some messages alleged she threatened to boycott promotional events if the production company didn't comply. And if that sounds a bit extreme, consider how it escalated during the film's premiere. Justin claims he and his family were literally sent to the basement at the request of Blake and Ryan Reynolds, so they wouldn't be seen mingling with the rest of the cast. Ordinarily, the main actor, writer, and director stands front and center at a premiere. In his telling, he was banished, as if he had no rightful place at his own movie's big night. The lengths to which Blake supposedly went to secure power became more evident when we learned she not only used Ryan, but also pulled in her dragon, Taylor Swift, as she described in a text referencing the Game of Thrones character, Daenerys Targaryen. She apparently wrote something along the lines of, "I'm Khaleesi and I have the best dragons in the business," implying Ryan and Taylor were her unstoppable forces. What precisely they were meant to do, publicly back her, intimidate the studio, or overshadow Justin with their star power, isn't fully clear.
A lot of it's my real life clothes or my husband's clothes or my girlfriend Gigi's clothes. I was borrowing some.
Wait, that's kind of amazing. So you have something of Gigi's in the movie.
Yeah, it's like a wedding, like something old, something borrowed, something blue, something new.
Wait, which
except
one?
it's just-
Now I want to think of the scene.
Oh, I'm wearing her stuff all over it.
Oh, really?
And tons of like Bodhi, which is with the suit now that I'm wearing is Bodhi. It was meant for my husband, but I borrowed
that's
it.
his suit?
It was meant for him to wear, but it's so pretty. Look at it. You guys are not getting it in the shot.
I for sure fell short, and you worked really hard on that, and the way you framed it, and how that made you feel. I just want to say thank you for sharing that with me. That takes a lot of trust and vulnerability, and I feel really grateful that you feel safe enough to tell me that that's how you feel and share that with me. And I'm really sorry. I f***ed up. That is a fail on my part. One thing you should know about me is I will admit and apologize when I fail. I am far from perfect. I am a very flawed man, as my wife will attest. And and I'm gonna f*** up. I'm gonna say the wrong thing. I'm gonna put my foot in my mouth. I'm gonna piss you off, probably, but I will always apologize.
But the tenor of her messages suggests she was more than comfortable wielding that star-studded circle as a sword. To complicate matters, Blake launched multiple accusations about how Justin treated her body and weight. She insisted he asked around about her postpartum figure and commented on her weight in a disrespectful way. Rumors swirled that Ryan Reynolds even confronted Justin at his penthouse, giving him a stern warning to back off. On the surface, that sounds extreme, but if you take it at face value, it could spark outrage. Then the deeper context emerged. Justin suffers chronic back pain and needed to perform a scene where he lifts Blake. Knowing her approximate weight was important to plan the choreography safely. Text messages appear to confirm that Justin was asking strictly for logistical reasons, trying to ensure no one got hurt. Even further, other messages show him offering support and reassurance to Blake while she navigated her postpartum body image, praising her commitment to the role. That's hardly the behavior of a manipulative bully. Still, the strangest twist might be the no intimacy coordinator claim in Blake's lawsuit. She argued that Justin forced intimate scenes on her without proper oversight, going off script when he touched her or whispered things in her ear. However, interviews with Blake herself, prior to the lawsuit, plainly mentioned the production hired an intimacy coordinator. She even half-jokingly said she unofficially played that role at times because she was so involved in choreographing certain steamy sequences. That comment alone contradicts her assertion that the production was too cheap or negligent to hire someone. Moreover, behind-the-scenes footage and text exchanges confirm that she and Justin openly discussed how to handle intimate moments. Footage from one slow dance scene, which her lawsuit paints as deeply violating, actually shows them conversing lightheartedly about their spouses and routine matters. The line she cites, "It smells so good," wasn't some sinister confession, but more of an offhand remark about the environment or her perfume, which is obvious to anyone who hears it in context. It's also worth noting how the tone of her legal complaint itself raised questions from the start. Certain accusations read like a laundry list of emotional triggers, invading her maternal space, insulting her postpartum body, ignoring her boundaries.
So it's a bit of a tough adjustment in our house, but it's good. I mean, I have two other daughters, so my oldest is very into the baby, but my middle child, not so much. But we're thinking of keeping her.
Does she like play with her? What does she think?
Well, she sort of like pretends to play with her. So like in the beginning, our oldest is like loving on her, and she's like very maternal, and then our middle daughter is just keeps away from her.
But there's no hesitancy. I'm happy to send it to you. And I'm sorry that has happened to you before. And I hope after this experience there will be a new, I don't know, I hope it'll be healing in some way. Because that's all I want. I want this movie to be healing. I want this movie to be commercial just like you and affect people and touch people. And I want to walk you through my whole plan and the work that we're doing with the domestic violence partner that we found no more and just my vision. And I just know that this can be really, really special, and it's going to be special. And you're the secret sauce, and we're the secret sauce. And anyways, I have so much more to say. I'm going to stop rambling because Jesus Christ, it's been 6 minutes and 30 seconds. So me. I'm sorry. You probably have kids all over you and a baby on your boob, and you're listening to me ramble at 2 a.m. I hope you're feeling better, and give Ryan my love. Thank you for sending me that. It means the world to me that you trust me with your feelings and your thoughts like that. And I can't wait to spend more time with you. Okay, I'm done. Cutting myself off. Good night.
These are all sensitive topics that tap into big cultural conversations about consent, respect, and women's rights in the workplace. Yet her own text messages show a far more collaborative, even friendly dynamic between her and Justin. That gap between the lawsuit's narrative and the actual tone of their messages is almost shocking. If she believed her private texts wouldn't see the light of day, it might explain why she felt confident weaving a very different story in the official complaint. Right now, the eyes of the industry are glued to how this legal drama will play out. Several studios are apparently holding back potential deals with Blake, worried about public backlash if more damaging information surfaces. She was once a reliable box office draw and a staple of red carpets. But that image is fracturing, and ironically, she might have ended up giving Justin more publicity and sympathy than he ever would have had otherwise. While no one can call this controversy a win for him, given how stressful and draining these public legal battles become, it does mean more people are aware of his side of the story. It's a reminder that, in the current digital age, controlling the narrative isn't as simple as it once was. Where does it all go from here? If Blake remains silent while her attorneys try to force a gag order, the public might interpret it as her having something to hide. If she speaks out, she risks revealing more contradictions that Justin's team can exploit. Meanwhile, Megyn Kelly has promised to keep championing the release of all relevant receipts, meaning we may see even more raw footage, text exchanges, and behind-the-scenes testimony about what really happened on that set. The lawsuits themselves are still inching through the courts, so it might be months before any definitive judgments come down. But the court of public opinion operates on a much faster timeline, and it's already shifting against Blake. At this point, it's almost impossible to walk back the damage. High-profile celebrities who stumble into controversies this deep rarely come out the same on the other side. If Blake truly believed she could orchestrate a takedown of Justin Baldoni and emerge unscathed, she may have gravely miscalculated.
We always tease each other. He was, after I gave birth, he was like, oh my gosh, if I lost you and I, went to the park with our 3 kids, I mean, think of the ladies I can. Like, this is a horrible thing to say. And he's like, I mean, I've got a long list. And I was like, oh, really? Because I just have 1 on my list. I didn't have anyone on my list.
And then it wasn't funny anymore.
No, it's so much more of a burn. He's like, wait, who? And I was like, okay, think of someone. Think of someone. Bob Newhart. I don't know.
Talking like this, me into my phone at 2 a.m, but largely via text and voice note. And I will be honest with you, that is not my biggest strength. I love being with people and being in somebody's space and being face to face, and I feel like that's where I excel, and definitely fallen short at times in our text and voice note exchanges because there's so much to communicate and there's so much happening, and all that to say, I'm just really looking forward to spending time together, and I think that's going to really go a long way for our chemistry, which I believe is there. has been there from the start. So I was so damn excited when you wanted to do this film. I felt it in the room when we met, and yeah, I think it does come from the both of us being hardworking and having a vision and not settling.
That occurs, the text messages, footage, and depositions won't just be in the realm of rumor. They'll be official. The day that happens, the final shreds of her once flawless reputation could vanish. So, is Blake Lively a cunning mastermind who lied at every turn to shore up her power and reputation? Or is it remotely possible she has valid concerns about Justin Baldoni that haven't come to light yet, and she just went about exposing them in a deeply misguided way? The evidence so far seems heavily stacked against her, and every time she makes another move, like filing for a gag order, it only hardens the perception that she's in damage control mode. What we do know is that many fans and fellow actors who once rallied around her are now standing on the sidelines, waiting to see where the chips fall. Hollywood is no stranger to feuds, but the depth of this one, combined with the legal complexity and the personal stakes, is mesmerizingly intense. In the end, everyone is left to ask, did Blake Lively truly sabotage her own image in a desperate power grab? Or was she so determined to maintain a pristine image that she'd do anything and accuse anyone to preserve it? As the leaked evidence grows, each new revelation points to one unmistakable conclusion. This is no misunderstanding. It's a battle of narratives, and only one side can come out on top. If Blake hoped no one would notice the discrepancies in her statements, she underestimated the world's appetite for unraveling a scandal. Now that we've seen inside the text messages, heard the actual audio from the set, and watched the behind-the-scenes footage, it's hard to believe her original claims. The question is whether any last-minute bombshells might emerge that turn the tables again. For now, the scales are tipping heavily against her, and she might just be on the brink of a downfall more dramatic than anything she's ever filmed.
I mean, honestly, the way that I get into a character is through their style. So it was more about who Lily is that was so fascinating to me.
I'm honored, and I'm also more honored that because, you know, what we're talking about is so important and so meaningful, that we're able to have this much anticipation, and so many people want to go see it and are talking about it. Like, that's what I'm grateful for.
Hollywood has long been captivated by the behind-the-scenes tensions swirling around Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively. What began as an exciting partnership to adapt the best-selling novel It Ends With Us devolved into conflicting legal complaints, rumored misrepresentations, and a massive defamation claim. On one side stands Lively, contending that she was sidelined in creative decisions and coerced into comedic and high-fashion elements she never wanted. On the other side stands Baldoni, maintaining that Lively was, in fact, an enthusiastic participant in all those choices, and that her allegations undermined his reputation and the film's potential success. Amid gossip about missing documents, contradictory text messages, and talk of extreme legal consequences, a surprising chorus of celebrities has risen to defend Baldoni. Though some prefer to remain low profile about the controversy, 10 well-known names have either publicly or quietly expressed support for Baldoni's version of events, adding new dimensions to a conflict that has already gripped movie fans worldwide. According to industry chatter, these defenders range from close friends of Baldoni to colleagues who admire his artistry and empathetic directorial style. Some simply know him through shared philanthropic work, while others have teamed with him on past film or television projects. Regardless of their specific connection, each of these celebrities has been vocal, or at least insistent in private, that the portrayal of Baldoni as someone who strong-armed Blake Lively is inconsistent with the thoughtful, collaborative person they know. Their perspectives, combined with the mysterious documents rumored to align with Baldoni's account, have shifted the conversation. Many now question whether Lively's legal claims might omit or minimize her own role in shaping the comedic and luxurious aspects of the adaptation. The following narrative weaves together the remarks and actions of these 10 celebrities who have come forward in different ways to defend Baldoni. One of the first to speak up was Gina Rodriguez, famous for starring in Jane the Virgin, she had worked with Baldoni, who directed a notable episode of that show. In an interview that initially focused on Gina's upcoming projects, she was asked about the swirling rumors surrounding It Ends With Us. She paused, then praised Baldoni's consistent respect for the source material in every project he touches. According to Gina, Baldoni would never overshadow a story's emotional core just to chase comedic appeal, implying that the push for more humor likely came from someone else, or at least was more of a mutual decision than Lively suggested. Gina's words sparked immediate debate online, with fans of both the novel and Lively scrutinizing whether her stance proved anything conclusive. Still, her calm endorsement of Baldoni's integrity made her a prominent figure among his defenders. Next came Chrissy Metz, who met Baldoni through charitable endeavors. Though best known for her moving role on This Is Us, Chrissy has also been vocal about behind-the-scenes collaboration in Hollywood. When rumors emerged that Lively might have misrepresented elements of the production, Chrissy posted a cryptic social media message hinting that kindness and truth should always guide how we talk about creative differences. Insiders say she privately told friends that Baldoni is one of the most transparent and conscientious people she has encountered in the industry.
It's based on a beautiful, really important book, and it's about a young woman named Lily who confronts the generational cycles in her life and breaks them and ends the circle. And I hope people find it inspiring, and yet also, you know, it's a film about a heavy topic. It's about domestic violence.
While Chrissy never directed hostile remarks toward Lively, her implied support of Baldoni's narrative, particularly the notion that he prioritizes emotional authenticity over superficial glamour, did not go unnoticed. Then there is Hilary Swank, two-time Academy Award winner, though she has never collaborated directly with Baldoni. They share connections through philanthropic circles addressing social justice causes. People in those circles say Swank was dismayed by the characterization of Baldoni as controlling or dismissive of female input. She allegedly commented that Baldoni always fosters an environment of inclusivity, based on everything she has heard from colleagues who have worked under his direction. While Swank did not post a statement, word spread that she found Lively's claims out of step with Baldoni's long-standing commitment to female empowerment and emotional storytelling. Industry watchers noted that Swank rarely wades into controversies, so even her indirect remarks lent weight to the idea that Baldoni might be the one telling the fuller truth. Meanwhile, Mindy Kaling, widely known for her comedic and writing prowess, has shared a friendly rapport with Baldoni over the years. They share a mutual admiration for each other's creative endeavors, regularly exchanging social media shout-outs and comedic banter. When asked about the controversy at a red carpet event, Kaling praised Baldoni's skill for balancing humor and heart. She suggested that if comedic beats found their way into It Ends With Us, it would likely have been a collaborative effort. She also mentioned that Baldoni has often championed women's stories, and that the notion he would force comedic ideas onto an unwilling lead actor feels inconsistent with the person she has seen. Kaling's defense wasn't so much a direct repudiation of Lively as it was a testament to Baldoni's track record.
I was testing for a show that ended up actually getting picked up and doing very well, and I was one of two people maybe, and then I get a call from my managers and my agent. They were both on the line, which means it's something serious. Either you got the job or there's something wrong. And they said, so you were the choice, but the network said that your eyebrows would be too distracting.
What? Oh no.
And then they went like, so what can we do about your eyebrows?
Nevertheless, fans interpreted it as a vote of confidence in his stance. Singer and actress Selena Gomez also quietly stepped into the discussion. While Gomez and Baldoni have not publicly appeared in any major project together, they share overlapping social circles. According to anonymous insiders, Selena was disturbed by suggestions that Lively had been completely blindsided by comedic rewrites. Gomez reportedly commented that, in her experience, major creative choices in a film adaptation rarely happen without the lead actor's input, especially someone with Lively's star power. To Selena, it seemed implausible that comedic or fashion decisions were foisted on Lively without her knowledge. Though Gomez didn't publicly name Lively, her general remarks about the collaborative nature of filmmaking came shortly after the rumors of Lively's dissatisfaction surfaced, leading many to see them as an indirect defense of Baldoni's version. Actor and musician Jordan Fisher also spoke up, albeit more directly. Having worked alongside Baldoni in separate projects, Jordan has repeatedly praised Baldoni's professionalism and sense of fairness. When asked in an interview about the tension on the It Ends With Us set, Jordan said Baldoni is someone who would rather talk things out for hours than let even a small problem fester. This seemed to contradict allegations that Lively felt systematically undermined. Jordan concluded by expressing that if comedic or high fashion elements were introduced, it was probably due to a creative consensus rather than a unilateral decision by Baldoni. Jordan's statement resonated with fans who see him as an amicable and trustworthy figure, lending further support to Baldoni's perspective. The next celebrity to weigh in is Auli'i Cravalho, best known for her role as the voice of Disney's Moana. Though she has no direct professional ties to Lively or Baldoni, she encountered Baldoni during a benefit concert event. When asked about the swirling legal drama, Auli'i admitted she found it hard to believe that someone as open-hearted as Baldoni would ignore a star's creative input. She described him as not just a collaborator, but also a person who actively listens and adapts to others' ideas.
She said, just read it, because I was looking for movies that could be commercial and speak to the human experience. And
Were you reading romance novels?
And I had never read a romance novel.
Never?
And she said, just trust me, read it. So I read it, and by the end of the book, I couldn't even read the text on the page because I was crying so much. My wife was in bed next to me, and she's, I got snot coming out of my nose.
Though her words were brief and delivered during a fundraiser Q&A, they added an interesting voice to the conversation, one from someone relatively new to the industry, but still discerning about the reputations of established figures. Baldoni's connections to philanthropic work also brought him an ally in Shawn Mendes, the singer-songwriter who has appeared at numerous charity events side by side with Baldoni. While not known for involvement in film production, Mendes is said to have struck up a friendship with Baldoni over shared values and philanthropic goals. Sometime after the rumors that Lively might have distorted facts to gain an upper hand in court, Mendes posted a supportive message to Baldoni on social media, calling him one of the real ones in Hollywood, and praising his dedication to honest storytelling. Mendes did not explicitly mention Lively, but the timing made it clear that he was choosing to align himself with Baldoni just when the director's integrity was being questioned most strongly. Camila Cabello also chimed in, drawing attention by making remarks during a live Q&A session with fans. Someone asked if she believed rumors that Baldoni forced comedic changes onto Lively and disregarded her perspective. Camila responded that she has never known Baldoni to be manipulative, and that in her interactions, he made an effort to uplift the voices of everyone involved. She also implied that a star of Lively's caliber, with decades of experience and strong industry connections, would not be easily sidelined. Though Camilla's comments were short and somewhat speculative, they contributed to the mounting sense that Baldoni's public portrayal by Lively might be incomplete. The final member of the group, often discussed as part of the Baldoni Defense Squad, is actress and activist Sophia Bush. Having championed transparency and ethical conduct in Hollywood, Bush is known for speaking her mind on issues of fairness. Reports emerged that Bush privately communicated with Baldoni to offer emotional support after the lawsuit headlines emerged. During a public appearance about women in film, she mentioned that one person's story can't always be taken at face value when we know how complicated big productions can be. Some suspected this was a gentle allusion to Lively's statements, underscoring that not all is black and white in such disagreements. Bush's emphasis on nuance and the importance of hearing multiple viewpoints resonated strongly, especially given her reputation for advocating that women's voices be heard. Many recognized that Bush's broad statements were, in effect, a call to reserve judgment until more evidence surfaces, an approach that indirectly supports Baldoni's insistence that a fuller picture would exonerate him. Beyond the remarks of these celebrities, the core controversy remains. Lively continues to maintain that Baldoni let comedic and lavish stylistic choices dominate the adaptation, going against the heartfelt soul of the novel. She contends that her protests went unheeded, causing her to feel sidelined at critical creative junctures. The watershed moment arrived when Lively took her grievances to court, claiming reputational harm and an unhealthy production environment. Baldoni, in response, dropped his own bombshell, a defamation claim worth $400 million, buttressed by text messages, meeting logs, and other communications that reportedly prove Lively knew and approved of comedic rewrites and upscale wardrobe decisions from the start.
A lot of it's my real life clothes or my husband's clothes or my girlfriend Gigi's clothes. I was borrowing some.
Wait, that's kind of amazing. So you have something of Gigi's in the movie.
Yeah, it's like a wedding, like something old, something borrowed, something blue, something new.
Wait, which
except
one?
it's just-
Now I want to think of the scene.
Oh,
so-
I'm wearing her stuff all over it.
Oh, really?
And tons of like Bodhi, which is with the suit now that I'm wearing is Bodhi. It was meant for my husband, but I borrowed it.
His suit?
It was meant for him to wear, but it's so pretty. Look at it. You guys are not getting it in the shot.
What truly escalated the drama were the subsequent suggestions, still unverified, that Lively might have provided incomplete or inaccurate testimony about those same creative choices. According to rumor, new evidence contradicts her statements that comedic elements and designer pieces were forced upon her. If these rumors are accurate, it means that Lively's portrayal of being blindsided by comedic or glamorous angles might not hold up under scrutiny. While some supporters have argued she could have changed her mind over time, others believe a star of her profile would understand how well-documented production decisions can be. This discrepancy, if proven, could significantly undermine Lively's credibility, strengthening Baldoni's side of the story. In the midst of this uncertainty, the industry has looked to well-known figures for signals of who stands with whom. On Lively's side, certain individuals seem sympathetic, pointing out that large-scale productions can evolve in ways that surprise even the lead. They highlight the possibility that comedic or extravagant decisions might have started small, then ballooned beyond Lively's comfort level. Yet the 10 celebrities who spoke out in Baldoni's favor see the situation differently. Their consistent message is that Baldoni's hallmark is respectful collaboration, making it unlikely he would ever impose major changes without ensuring everyone was on board. The significance of these voices goes beyond personal friendship. Many of them have carved out a reputation for authenticity and ethical conduct in Hollywood. They know how critical honesty and genuine respect are when shaping creative content. By backing Baldoni, they implicitly challenge Lively's allegations and put forth a counter-narrative that Lively was not merely a victim of comedic or stylistic overreach, but an active contributor who changed her stance when the public response to leaked set photos turned negative. This position paints the conflict as less about a star fighting for creative integrity and more about an actor trying to salvage her image after fans expressed concern that the adaptation strayed from the book's sobering themes. Meanwhile, fans of the original novel, It Ends With Us, remain in suspense. They hoped for a faithful adaptation that would honor the story's poignant reflection on personal struggle and growth. Now they find the novel overshadowed by rumor and legal threats. Some fear that the deeper message of the book might be lost amidst the bickering over comedic punchlines and luxurious costumes. Studios and investors are rumored to be jittery, worried that negative press might overshadow any box office campaign.
So it's a bit of a tough adjustment in our house, but it's good. I mean, I have two other daughters, so my oldest is very into the baby, but my middle child, not so much. But we're thinking of keeping her.
Does she like play with her? What does she think?
Well, she sort of like pretends to play with her. So like in the beginning, our oldest is like loving on her, and she's like very maternal, and then our middle daughter is just keeps away from her.
As the dispute drags on, the film's promotional calendar has reportedly stalled, with no definitive release date or marketing plan in sight. Another subplot lingering behind the scenes is how this scandal could affect the personal brands of both Baldoni and Lively. Baldoni has carefully cultivated a reputation as a compassionate director who values emotional truth. Lively, for her part, is celebrated for her charismatic presence and sense of style, along with her comedic flair. If substantial proof emerges that her testimony conflicts with actual production documents, she might face a credibility crisis that extends beyond this one film. Conversely, if no such proof materializes or is revealed to be less damning than rumored, then Baldoni may owe an apology for insinuating that Lively engaged in serious misrepresentations. Still, the consistent stance of those 10 celebrities has undeniably tilted public sentiment toward Baldoni's side. Each has a personal reason for trusting him, whether through direct collaboration, charitable missions, or mutual respect in creative circles. Their combined voices have also reminded the industry that big lawsuits do not always hinge on star power alone. In a digital age where every text, email, and voice note can become evidence, the truth can be more verifiable than ever. The days when a star's narrative might go unquestioned are over, particularly when multiple high-profile figures challenge that narrative. Speculation abounds about whether any of these celebrities might be summoned to speak under oath if the legal feud proceeds to trial. Some observers predict that depositions could clarify whether they have direct knowledge of Lively endorsing comedic ideas. Others suggest that a settlement could be reached before testimonies are required, especially if Baldoni's camp produces enough evidence behind closed doors to persuade Lively's team that continuing the fight is risky. For now, the public only sees cryptic social media posts, carefully worded interview answers, and small glimpses of where each big name stands. Meanwhile, the rumor of Lively facing potential legal repercussions for her statements, sometimes sensationalized to the point of mentioning years in prison, continues to swirl. Legal analysts caution that such extreme outcomes are rare. They typically require indisputable proof of intentional falsehoods. But the discussion underscores how high the stakes are. Baldoni's defamation lawsuit is formidable, and if Lively's complaint truly contains inaccuracies or misleading elements, the ramifications could be severe for her professional future.
I mean, honestly, the way that I get into a character is through their style. So it was more about who Lily is that was so fascinating to me, is that she's a walking, talking contradiction, yet it's perfectly harmonious for her.
Baldoni's advocates, like Gina Rodriguez, Chrissy Metz, Hilary Swank, Mindy Kaling, Selena Gomez, Jordan Fisher, Auli'i Cravalho, Shawn Mendes, Camila Cabello, and Sophia Bush, seem convinced that the ultimate facts will absolve him of wrongdoing, preserving both his directorial reputation and the emotional authenticity he claims to champion. What the public is left with is an evolving Hollywood saga that touches on themes of honesty, creative freedom, and the fragile alliances that shape big-budget productions. It Ends With Us was intended to highlight profound emotional journeys, but ironically, it has instead become a cautionary tale about the complexities and potential perils of star-studded collaborations. Each day, fans ask the same questions on social media. Will more evidence be revealed? Will Lively respond to the growing chorus defending Baldoni? Will the novel's film adaptation ever regain the momentum it once had? For now, the only certainty is that the voices of these 10 celebrities have complicated the public narrative, giving Justin Baldoni a compelling and influential defense in a dispute that shows no signs of quieting down. For movie enthusiasts hoping to see It Ends With Us on the big screen, the best outcome might be a resolution that clarifies the truth and allows the production to move forward with minimal damage. Perhaps a settlement can be reached that satisfies both parties, or an airing of all evidence in court will dispel rumors on both sides. In that scenario, the novel's essence might still prevail, drawing audiences to theaters to witness the heartfelt story that so many fell in love with on the page. Until then, the saga continues to highlight how the powerful intersections of celebrity, creativity, and legal systems can transform a simple creative disagreement into a major Hollywood controversy, one that even star-studded support cannot easily resolve. Yet for Justin Baldoni, having influential voices publicly defend his character and methods is a crucial advantage, possibly the key ingredient that will shape how fans, studios, and colleagues ultimately view this very public clash.
People care so much more about your personal life than they do your work, and if you aren't open with your personal life, then they just make it up for you and share it for you.
Blake Lively's charismatic public persona once made her a fixture of red carpets and magazine covers. Though she had been celebrated for years as a style icon and a seemingly down-to-earth star, her carefully groomed image began to unravel when a wave of allegations surfaced surrounding her participation in the adaptation of a best-selling novel, It Ends With Us. That film, directed and co-written by Justin Baldoni, had seemed to promise a smooth, uplifting production. Yet, backstage disputes spiraled into controversies involving text messages, counterclaims, and unexpected revelations. The entire situation has reached a crescendo, and in an astonishing twist, Blake's own attorney has chosen to terminate their representation of her. This move came with an added shock. The lawyer publicly outlined reasons for resigning, effectively painting a portrait of a client who, they claim, went to extraordinary lengths to undermine Justin, and has now been exposed for doing so. The attorney's departure set off alarm bells throughout Hollywood. It's a highly unusual occurrence for a high-profile lawyer to break ties with a client under such circumstances, especially while hinting at ethical misgivings. Given Blake's track record in front of the camera, generally cordial, lighthearted, and at times self-deprecating, few suspected she might be the center of a storm that put her attorney in such an untenable position. Yet here we are, watching the unraveling of her reputation in a manner that seems more dramatic than anything she ever portrayed on screen. The controversy itself began innocently enough. It ends with Us. A story with a passionate fan base was poised for an emotional and visually compelling film adaptation. Justin Baldoni brought both star power and directorial ambition to the project, hoping to create a work that would resonate with audiences on a deep level. Blake's casting elevated excitement, as many believed her involvement would draw added attention. Publicly, both actors expressed optimism about their partnership, although they hailed from somewhat different corners of the entertainment world. Justin had built a niche reputation for empathy, positivity, and heartfelt storytelling, while Blake was often lauded for her glamorous events and vibrant media presence. Initial harmony, however, began to fracture. Whispers around the set suggested that Blake felt overshadowed by Justin's visible hand in shaping the film. He was, after all, the director, co-writer, and a lead actor, which gave him a natural prominence. According to early gossip, she believed he was directing too many creative choices her way, and behind closed doors, she grumbled that he was orchestrating a media narrative that made her seem less essential. Those rumors spilled into tabloids, and fans started to notice small anomalies: lukewarm or terse comments during interviews, abrupt topic changes that sidelined Justin's contributions.
I was testing for a show that ended up actually getting picked up and doing very well, and I was one of two people maybe, and then I get a call from my managers and my agent. They were both on the line, which means it's something serious.
Right.
Either you got the job or there's something wrong.
Yeah.
And they said, so you were the choice, but the network said that your eyebrows would be too distracting.
Oh. What? Oh no.
And then they went like, so what can we do about your eyebrows?
Blake claimed she was a victim of rumors systematically placed in the press to tarnish her image. She accused Justin of masterminding a smear campaign. At first, such allegations gained traction. Hollywood is known for shifting alliances and strategic leaks, so it did not seem implausible that a star might face targeted negativity if conflicts arose on set. Viewers and industry insiders were inclined to be sympathetic, recalling how leading ladies often attract scrutiny that men in similar positions do not. Yet while some sided with Blake initially, others started uncovering evidence that complicated her story. Screenshots of text messages, mostly leaked by close affiliates of Justin, began to circulate. These exchanges depicted a more nuanced tale. Instead of Justin marginalizing Blake, it seemed Blake was the one asserting near complete control over certain aspects of the production. She referenced her personal sphere of influence, which included her husband, Ryan Reynolds, and other powerful friends she liked to call her dragons. In multiple messages, she made veiled suggestions that if the team didn't meet her demands, she'd rally formidable connections to influence film edits, marketing campaigns, and even media coverage. The situation might still have resolved itself quietly had it not escalated into a swirl of contradictory claims. Around the same time, rumors arose that Blake wanted to reshape the film script, veto certain technical choices, and even position co-stars differently during press events. Producers recalled receiving strongly worded messages indicating that Blake could withdraw from promotional obligations unless her perspective was prioritized. The turning point, however, was her legal filing against the production, which outlined accusations of discomfort on set, complaints that hinged on the absence of certain protocols for close contact scenes. She also insisted that Justin had made unkind remarks regarding her physical appearance post-childbirth, a statement that, if accurate, would have cast him in a very negative light. In the midst of these swirling allegations, Blake's attorney publicly presented a series of carefully edited text messages in support of her claims. These messages omitted emojis, spliced conversation fragments, and rearranged statements, forming a narrative that made Justin appear domineering or oblivious to her comfort. Blake's legal strategy rested heavily on this curated evidence. Yet soon afterward, Justin's team countered with what they called the complete text record, which showed unredacted chronological conversations that contradicted some of Blake's claims. In one instance, she accused Justin of walking into her trailer unannounced while she was in a vulnerable situation, only for Justin's evidence to show that she had explicitly invited him, even laughing in a message about the timing. This discrepancy left many observers dumbfounded. Enter the unexpected chapter where Blake's longtime lawyer, known for representing prominent Hollywood figures in delicate disputes, resigned from her case.
I mean, I internalized that as opportunity. Like, we had such a responsibility to this audience to deliver something and to have the opportunity to deliver something for a passionate group of people.
Yeah.
As someone who is so deeply passionate myself, I was so excited about that. I would so much rather have that than people who are indifferent.
Blasé.
While it's not unusual for attorneys to part ways with their clients, the shock this time hinged on how the attorney departed. Instead of quietly filing a withdrawal in court, the lawyer issued a public statement voicing concern about the credibility of Blake's claims. This was unheard of, a legal professional effectively turning the tables on a client, suggesting that the narrative Blake was pushing could be incomplete or misleading. Industry observers speculated that the lawyer, upon gaining access to the full records of messages and witness testimonies, saw a gap between Blake's public pronouncements and the underlying facts. The statement itself was carefully worded, sidestepping direct references to wrongdoing. Yet the thrust was unmistakable. The lawyer could no longer ethically represent a position that clashed with verifiable evidence. In follow-up comments to a select group of reporters, they hinted at having seen text communications and other materials that made them question Blake's version of events. The implication was that she may have knowingly distorted certain occurrences on set to cast Justin in a negative light. The lawyer's bold move aligned with repeated references in the press to a series of messages that suggested Blake's portrayal of normal production challenges might have been exaggerated, if not wholly reconfigured. This revelation from her now former attorney unleashed a fresh wave of discussions. Public sentiment had been wavering. Some still believed Blake was the target of under-the-radar manipulations, while others were convinced she had weaponized partial truths to steer the media. The new twist pressed many to reassess. If her own lawyer disavowed the claims, how reliable were they to begin with? Online forums lit up with heated debates. Fans divided between those who felt betrayed by Blake's alleged deceptions and others who maintained faith in her, arguing that the lawyer might be acting out of personal gain or harboring hidden motives. Simultaneously, the revelations gave Justin an unexpected advantage. For someone who set out to produce a heartfelt adaptation, he'd been thrust into a bizarre spotlight, forced to defend himself by releasing private communications. By the time the lawyer's statement hit the headlines, Justin no longer needed to aggressively champion his perspective. His adversary's own legal counsel had effectively done it for him.
And being frank, if it were not for women giving me direct feedback in my own personal life and being a man who was willing to at least listen to them, there's no chance that I would be having this conversation. So the message, to answer your question, the message is very simple. As men, we need to embrace all of the parts of us that make us human. That's it.
It is.
It's
And
very simple.
The dramatic exit underscored what industry insiders had begun to suspect, that the deeper one dug into the claims, the more they unraveled. Hollywood took note. Castmates and crew members who had been reluctant to speak up now felt less constrained. Some privately shared stories indicating that Blake appeared to deliberately pick apart situations, turning them into hot-button issues, only to later reference them in legal or public contexts that did not reflect what actually transpired. One production assistant recounted a time Blake insisted a certain scene be reshot multiple times, ostensibly for creative reasons, But days later, she described the same scenario in interviews as proof that the production had no proper guidelines for emotional well-being, a puzzling mismatch. She also insisted that Justin had made unkind remarks regarding her physical appearance post-childbirth, a statement that, if accurate, would have cast him in a very negative light. In the midst of these swirling allegations, Blake's attorney publicly presented a series of carefully edited text messages in support of her claims. These messages omitted emojis, spliced conversation fragments, and rearranged statements, forming a narrative that made Justin appear domineering or oblivious to her comfort. Blake's legal strategy rested heavily on this curated evidence. Yet soon afterward, Justin's team countered with what they called the complete text record, which showed unredacted chronological conversations that contradicted some of Blake's claims. In one instance, she accused Justin of walking into her trailer unannounced while she was in a vulnerable situation, only for Justin's evidence to show that she had explicitly invited him, even laughing in a message about the timing. This discrepancy left many observers dumbfounded. Enter the unexpected chapter where Blake's longtime lawyer, known for representing prominent Hollywood figures in delicate disputes, resigned from her case. While it's not unusual for attorneys to part ways with their clients, the shock this time hinged on how the attorney departed. Instead of quietly filing a withdrawal in court, the lawyer issued a public statement voicing concern about the credibility of Blake's claims. This was unheard of, a legal professional effectively turning the tables on a client, suggesting that the narrative Blake was pushing could be incomplete or misleading. Industry observers speculated that the lawyer, upon gaining access to the full records of messages and witness testimonies, saw a gap between Blake's public pronouncements and the underlying facts. The statement itself was carefully worded, sidestepping direct references to wrongdoing. Yet the thrust was unmistakable. The lawyer could no longer ethically represent a position that clashed with verifiable evidence, hinted at having seen text communications and other materials that made them question Blake's version of events. The implication was that she may have knowingly distorted certain occurrences on set to cast Justin in a negative light. The lawyer's bold move aligned with repeated references in the press to a series of messages that suggested Blake's portrayal of normal production challenges might have been exaggerated, if not wholly reconfigured. This revelation from her now former attorney unleashed a fresh wave of discussions. Public sentiment had been wavering. Some still believed Blake was the target of under-the-radar manipulations, while others were convinced she had weaponized partial truths to steer the media. The new twist pressed many to reassess. If her own lawyer disavowed the claims, how reliable were they to begin with? Online forums lit up with heated debates. Fans divided between those who felt betrayed by Blake's alleged deceptions and others who maintained faith in her, arguing that the lawyer might be acting out of personal gain or harboring hidden motives. Simultaneously, the revelations gave Justin an unexpected advantage. For someone who set out to produce a heartfelt adaptation, he'd been thrust into a bizarre spotlight, forced to defend himself by releasing private communications. By the time the lawyer's statement hit the headlines, Justin no longer needed to aggressively champion his perspective. His adversary's own legal counsel had effectively done it for him. The dramatic exit underscored what industry insiders had begun to suspect, that the deeper one dug into the claims, the more they unraveled. Hollywood took note. Castmates and crew members who had been reluctant to speak up now felt less constrained. Some privately shared stories indicating that Blake appeared to deliberately pick apart situations, turning them into hot-button issues, only to later reference them in legal or public contexts that did not reflect what actually transpired.
The idea that people think that they know you, I think because of how intrusive media is these days, there's people care so much more about your personal life than they do your work, and if you aren't open with your personal life, then they just make it up for you and share it for you.
One production assistant recounted a time Blake insisted a certain scene be reshot as proof that the production had no proper guidelines for emotional well-being, a puzzling mismatch. Meanwhile, Justin Baldoni finds himself unexpectedly thrust into a vantage point. where many view him as having been unfairly targeted, and then vindicated by the very counsel who once stood on Blake's side. As it stands, the entire episode stands out as one of the more convoluted behind-the-scenes Hollywood tales in recent memory, featuring legal intricacies, personal rifts, and a star's surprising fall from grace. The standoff between Blake and Justin may not end soon, especially if depositions or new claims emerge. Nonetheless, the biggest strike against Blake's credibility may not come from Justin himself, but from her own former representative, the professional who, in resigning, has provided the clearest indication yet that the case she was building might lack the foundation she proclaimed it had. For an actress once seen as untouchably charming, the turn of events is a sharp reminder that in an industry driven by perception, everything hinges on how stories hold up under scrutiny. If Blake tries to resurrect her claims, she'll have to grapple not just with Justin's side, but also with the echo of that departing lawyer's cautionary words. If she attempts to let the matter quietly dissolve, she leaves behind an unresolved swirl of doubt that could trail her into future ventures. Either choice carries substantial risk. Meanwhile, Justin, though having gone through significant stress, stands better positioned than before to move forward, forging new projects while the public continues to parse the text messages and confessions that he has made available. It may be some time before a lasting resolution emerges. The court system moves slowly, and public opinion, though swift to react, can be fickle, shifting again if another development arises. Yet no matter how things end, the departure of Blake Lively's attorney has already etched this saga into Hollywood lore. With a single exit, it hammered home the notion that when the facts don't line up, even the most polished celebrity facade can crumble, leaving a trail of revelations that few could have seen coming.
I would say that they're more surprises because they have beginnings, middles, and ends. They're not like, it's not just like a, hey, there's the person and we move on. It's they're there for a reason.
The shock of it was felt far beyond the usual confines of sports fans. Ryan Reynolds, who until recently was known as a beloved co-owner of the Wrexham Football Club, has been officially removed from his ownership position. The news came swiftly and with an intensity no one saw coming. What made it even more astonishing was the stated reason behind this drastic action: fallout from a string of falsehoods tied to his wife, Blake Lively. How did matters escalate from a charming, offbeat, Hollywood meets soccer fairy tale to one of the most talked about upheavals in global sports entertainment? Insiders are scrambling for answers. Public sentiment is all over the map. And while Wrexham supporters grapple with the sudden departure of a co-owner they had grown fond of, the larger world looks on, trying to unravel the bizarre set of circumstances that led to such a dramatic outcome. From the moment Ryan Reynolds first joined forces with Rob McElhenney to purchase Wrexham, fans greeted them with a mixture of amazement and hope. To many, it seemed like a quirky Hollywood dream come true. Two comedic actors investing in a historic Welsh football club, promising to lift it to new heights. Stories about Ryan's hands-on approach, how he would attend games, interact warmly with local fans, and tweet out supportive messages helped shape an image of an owner who was not only financially invested, but emotionally connected. It was a refreshing change from the all-too-common scenario of distant investors who rarely set foot in the club's home ground. For more than a year, supporters embraced this new era, crediting Ryan and Rob for injecting optimism and resources into a team that had long struggled to make its way back into higher competitive tiers. Simultaneously, Ryan's personal life with Blake Lively was a fascination for pop culture fans. The couple's witty social media banter, interviews brimming with laughter, and collective star power made them a charismatic duo. People delighted in the notion that these two celebrities had found a measure of normalcy in each other's company. Yet, beneath that polished exterior, unanticipated tensions were simmering. According to multiple accounts from individuals close to them, Blake's involvement in a separate project, an adaptation of the novel It Ends With Us, directed by and co-written with Justin Baldoni, was the catalyst for the troubles that would later spill over into Ryan's professional undertakings at Wrexham. At first, the It Ends With Us adaptation seemed like the perfect vehicle for Blake. Rumors suggested she was excited to dive into a character-driven story, one that had garnered significant buzz in literary circles. With Justin Baldoni's track record of heartfelt storytelling, fans expected a smooth, collaborative environment. But soon, word began filtering out that something was amiss. Friction on the set. Rumors of constant rewrites and suggestions that Blake felt overshadowed by Justin's creative control gave rise to drama. Although Hollywood is no stranger to behind-the-scenes hurdles, the sudden intensity of these rumors was surprising. Initially, reports pinned the responsibility on Justin, implying that he was overly strict, perhaps trying to sideline Blake's input. Some observers leaped to Blake's defense, recalling how female leads could be sidelined in an industry historically dominated by certain power dynamics. Yet it was not long before contradictory information appeared. Extended text logs from the production circulated among select industry insiders, suggesting that Blake might have been shaping a self-serving narrative. Among these revelations were messages in which she hinted she could ask Ryan to intervene, leveraging his connections and public platform to sway public perception in her favor.
Well, that is also accurate and weirdly high praise as well. It was just one of those, it felt like a live action Pixar movie. It was something that, I wanted to do something where nobody was being stabbed in the face.
Yes.
There was almost no blood at all. I think I got a little paper cut on the movie. That was about it. And something that my kids can watch, but also as a parent, too, you want the parents need to get punched right in the heart as well.
Though the specifics were cryptic, they strongly implied that Ryan's star power could pressure certain stakeholders and media outlets to highlight negative angles regarding Justin. In essence, she seemed to be counting on Ryan's popularity to stir up the kind of sympathy that would paint her as the aggrieved party, while also casting others in an unfavorable light. For a time, these revelations stayed within a fairly limited circle, but once the rumors grew, they reached Rob McElhenney, the comedic actor who had established a genuine friendship with Ryan through their shared Wrexham ownership, found himself receiving conflicting accounts. On one side, stories about Justin Baldoni's frustration at being mischaracterized. On the other, Blake's claim that she was simply standing up for herself. Rob was reluctant to become entangled in a personal dispute that, at first glance, did not concern him directly. Meanwhile, Ryan had apparently tried to stay neutral, continuing to post cheerful updates about Wrexham and praising the community that had welcomed him so wholeheartedly. However, cracks began showing when additional controversies from Blake's set spilled onto social media. Fans noticed a shift in Ryan's normally jovial tone. Some speculated that the stress from Blake's challenges was affecting him. Then, the real tremor started when a few of Wrexham's board members got hold of documents indicating that Ryan might be using his co-ownership role to assist Blake in ways that were not entirely aligned with the club's best interests. The precise nature of these actions remained vague at first, but the mere suggestion that Ryan could be mixing personal drama with the operational responsibilities of Wrexham ownership rattled loyal supporters. Early statements from the board offered little detail, other than acknowledging ongoing discussions about Ryan's stake in the club. This alone was enough to alarm fans. Social media erupted. Some insisted that even if Ryan had made a mistake, the value he brought to Wrexham was too great to cast aside. Others wanted clarity, feeling uneasy about the swirling speculation. Then came the bombshell, a formal announcement that Ryan had been removed from his position as co-owner, citing breaches of trust related to misinformation. The club's official communication remained diplomatic, pointing to actions that the board believed endangered Wrexham's integrity. No direct mention of Blake Lively or Justin Baldoni was included, but industry watchers made the connection almost instantly. In the days that followed, more details leaked, enough to confirm that the controversies around Blake's film project had spilled into Ryan's management decisions at the club. Whistleblowers alleged that Blake had told Ryan to use his influence at Wrexham to curry favor among journalists or to deflect negative coverage related to the "It Ends With Us" production. In one instance, Ryan was reportedly asked to provide exclusive interviews to particular outlets.
And I'm really excited, but as I've gotten a little bit older, I'm lucky that I get to work in this industry, and particularly incredibly fortunate that I get to work in it this long, but I really want to work with people that are either immensely talented or people that I love and that I'm genuinely best friends with. And unfortunately, Hugh does not qualify as either of those, but I am excited because I'm a Logan fan. So And then, that covers Will Ferrell as well. That's a guy that my entire life, I feel.
In exchange for gentle coverage of Blake's troubles on set, these maneuvers might not have been glaring difficult position. He had advocated for Ryan when the two pitched the dream of revitalizing Wrexham. The comedic synergy they shared spilled over into a dynamic that made fans love them as a duo. Now, he was forced to navigate a tense environment, responding to questions from the club's board and from supporters who felt betrayed. Initial calls for an internal review eventually escalated into a request that Ryan step away while the matter was investigated. He complied, at least in the short term, but behind the scenes, tensions ran high. Ryan apparently argued that he was just trying to protect his wife during a rough patch in her career, never intending to harm the club or compromise its interests. Behind closed doors, some board members might have been sympathetic to Ryan's predicament. After all, no one invests in a relationship expecting it to blow back on their professional obligations. But the reality was that any hint of behind-the-scenes manipulation at Wrexham threatened the club's credibility. A newly minted ownership group, particularly one from Hollywood, could ill afford to be seen exploiting the team for personal agendas. The board concluded that letting Ryan remain, given the swirl of allegations, was a risk they could not take. And so they acted decisively, removing him from the position he had once embraced with so much enthusiasm. The public statement was brief, but damning by implication. It described a breakdown in trust and cited patterns of misrepresentation. While it stopped short of saying Ryan deliberately deceived anyone, it highlighted the potential damage done to the club's reputation. Rob was left as the remaining high-profile figure from the original takeover. An awkward situation for a man who once treasured his partnership with Ryan as a source of comedic creativity and entrepreneurial optimism. Rob's social media channels fell silent. The sense of loss among supporters was palpable. Fans who had pinned their hopes on the comedic duo's commitment to the club found themselves reeling from the abrupt shift. Meanwhile, in Hollywood, gossip about Blake's involvement in the fiasco ran rampant. When her attorney withdrew support in the midst of her earlier disputes with Justin Baldoni, many suspected something significant was being concealed. Those suspicions intensified when accounts surfaced of text messages in which she apparently referenced controlling how the press reported on her difficulties. Some claimed Blake saw Ryan's Wrexham ownership as a strategic asset. If she could harness the popularity around the quirky soccer project to overshadow criticisms of her film Meltdown, she might emerge with minimal reputational harm. Precisely how much Ryan consented to this approach became a topic of heated debate. Did he knowingly combine Wrexham's marketing channels with an effort to shape coverage?
About a month ago, this really hit home with me too. About a month ago, I was sitting in traffic and I was just like jamming These Dreams by heart. Oh. I was killing it in the car. And there was just this busload of high school kids that were parked right beside me. I didn't even realize. I looked over and every one of their jaws were just on the ground, laughing their friggin' guts out at me.
Or did he find himself caught up in a dynamic he had little chance to untangle? For fans of the club, it was a rude awakening. If these allegations were true, then a cherished chapter in the club's history was tainted by the manipulations of a Hollywood star. Supporters posted emotional reactions online, some even burning replicas of the famous Wrexham shirts that Ryan had popularized. Others refused to believe the story, dubbing it sensational. Nonetheless, the board had already made its decision. Even if further evidence surfaced that absolved Ryan of wrongdoing, the damage felt irreversible. The synergy that once existed between him, Rob, and the Wrexham community was broken. Journalists rushed to track down Justin Baldoni's viewpoint, given that the entire fiasco seemed to trace back to tensions on his movie set. Justin largely stuck to neutral statements, emphasizing that he had tried to maintain an atmosphere of mutual respect. He said he regretted seeing any negativity harm external parties, namely Wrexham, but did not wade into the specifics of Ryan's alleged role. His silence on those matters fueled speculation. Some interpreted it as a sign that he was still gathering facts, or perhaps trying not to inflame an already sensitive situation. Others believed he was simply relieved that attention had shifted away from his creative process. Even as the dust settled over Wrexham's stunning announcement, new angles emerged. A producer from It Ends With Us privately shared that there had been attempts, allegedly led by Blake, to smear potential dissenters within the production, using social media claims that portrayed them as incompetent or biased. And while Ryan was never directly implicated in those efforts, some of his communications with the production team hinted that he encouraged the use of diversionary tactics. Observers read that phrase as code for ensuring negative stories were drowned out by more appealing narratives, possibly involving the excitement around Wrexham's renaissance. Of course, if that was the plan, it backfired spectacularly once the club's leadership realized what was going on. In the swirl of rumor and reaction, people couldn't help comparing this fiasco to other Hollywood controversies, in which text messages, contradictory statements, and dramatic shifts in support reshaped a star's public persona. Unlike those earlier dramas, Ryan's predicament involved an entire football club, which had become a symbol of community pride and rebirth.
My relationship with my father, which was very complicated and difficult. My dad was a very, I come from a middle class, kind of blue collar home, and my dad was just of that generation where it's just he was Clint Eastwood, less is more. Simple grunts is how he communicated.
Okay, gotcha.
I think people tell themselves stories, and this sort of comes back to your worldview that you just mentioned about.
Wrexham had gained new fans worldwide, thanks in large part to the comedic stylings and genuine enthusiasm Ryan and Rob brought to their ownership. Now, with half of that duo gone under suspicious circumstances, some wondered whether the renewed global interest in the team could endure. Would Rob manage to rally local support and keep the positive energy going? Or would the heartbreak overshadow the momentum they had built? As if to underscore the gravity of the situation, the club's official statement was followed by an extraordinary members' meeting. Season ticket holders and local supporters demanded clarity, forming a line outside the stadium to voice their concerns. While the exact content of the meeting remained confidential, sources reported that the board addressed a litany of questions about how such a fiasco could have brewed behind the scenes. Did no one see the signals that Ryan's personal life was bleeding into club affairs? How could the leadership group ensure no further vulnerabilities existed? The board answered as directly as it could, emphasizing that they had taken immediate action the moment they suspected a breach of trust. They expressed regret for any confusion among supporters, yet they stood by their decision to remove Ryan. Meanwhile, Ryan took to social media for what some felt was a half-hearted explanation. He insisted that his love for Wrexham was genuine, and that any confusion arose from overzealous attempts to protect his wife. Though he apologized if anyone felt misled, he didn't address the specifics, particularly the insinuation that he had orchestrated press coverage as a favor to Blake. Nor did he mention the text logs that had so thoroughly undermined her credibility. Critics pounced on his vague wording, suggesting he was skirting accountability. Fans who had once cheered his every tweet found themselves divided. Some thanked him for the good times, while others demanded a deeper, more genuine admission of his part in the fiasco. Rob McElhenney, for his part, released a short statement that came off as a blend of sadness and resolve. He expressed gratitude for Ryan's contributions, praising their shared early vision for the club. At the same time, he clarified that the board's unanimous move left him in a position where he had to support it for the well-being of Wrexham. Rob promised that the journey they began would carry on, that the club would remain in caring hands, and that the community would continue to be at the heart of every major decision. Fans found some solace in his promise, though many admitted it would take time to truly move forward from this scandal.
I would say that they're more surprises because they have beginnings, middles, and ends. They're not it's not just like hey, there's the person and we move on. It's they're there for a reason.
Yeah. And you said it just earlier, but I wanted to go back on that. You think that this might be the greatest film that you've...
I mean, look, most of the time when the movie is this much fun to make, you up bad.
Wrexham fans, for their part, demonstrate remarkable resilience. In online forums, they share memories of past crises, financial struggles, near relegations, changes of ownership that shook the club. Many maintain a hopeful stance, insisting that no matter what controversies swirl around them, the spirit of the team endures. They laud Rob for sticking by the community and making tough calls for the greater good. Indeed, some remain thankful to Ryan for the initial spark he brought, despite the abrupt ending. After all, they reason for a brief moment in time. The club gained worldwide recognition, fresh sponsorships, and the unwavering interest of supporters across continents. Ryan Reynolds' forced departure from Wrexham stands as one of the most jarring episodes in modern sports history, a story marked by alleged hidden motives, questionable tactics, and an astonishing fall from grace. The root cause, swirling around Blake Lively's contested version of events, underscores how swiftly personal ambitions can tangle with professional frameworks, especially in an age when social media and celebrity influence can reshape entire narratives overnight. Whether or not the full truth will ever be publicly untangled remains to be seen. The damage, though, is undeniable. A once harmonious ownership team is now fractured, a community's trust has been shaken, and an actress's professional credibility has been called into question. In the coming months, the conversations will likely shift away from the turmoil and back toward the football pitch, where the club must focus on performance and strategy. Yet, the memory of this controversy will linger, both as a piece of Wrexham lore and as an emblematic example of what can happen when Hollywood meets small-town passion and private agendas clash with communal dreams. If there is a silver lining, perhaps it lies in the determination of the Wrexham community to band together, weathering the disappointment and emerging stronger for it. As for Ryan and Blake, their next moves will be watched intensely, scrutinized for sincerity or opportunism, and filtered through the lens of a scandal that none of their fans ever saw coming.
It's like Justin Baldoni saying, "I'd love to work with Blake again."
Ooh, and even the audience is like laughing, but like, should we laugh at this given what you did last week?
Blake Lively has everyone's attention, and this time, it's not for a blockbuster or a fashion moment. Word has spread that she's filing an $80 million lawsuit against Saturday Night Live after a tense on-air incident that left the actress feeling exposed in front of millions. How did one night's comedy sketch escalate into a legal showdown with one of television's biggest institutions? And what does this high-stakes battle reveal about the lengths celebrities will go to protect their image? Let's dive into the chain of events behind this jaw-dropping clash between Blake and the iconic late-night show.
To me, this shows SNL playing its cards of, yeah, they're clearly, they know Blake Lively is crazy.
Today's story revolves around a surprising series of events involving Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds, and a devastating on-air jab that spiraled into a legal and public relations upheaval. People watched them go from one of Hollywood's most beloved couples to facing embarrassment on live TV, a new scandal about Ryan's comments, and a scramble to control the narrative through extraordinary means. Let's break down how it all happened.
And given the appearance, she's gonna have this same reaction of, wait a second, why are you making fun of me? I thought you had our back, Sarah Live. What's going on?
Not too long ago, Saturday Night Live aired a segment in which one of its regulars, Colin Jost, slipped in a remark that seriously rattled Blake and Ryan. This mention took their ongoing legal drama, already rumored to be in the hundreds of millions of dollars, and launched it into the mainstream spotlight. Suddenly, everyone on social media was buzzing about Blake Lively's lawsuit, Ryan's involvement, and what had been whispered behind the scenes for months.
And then we've also got this story, Justin Baldoni. Now, as you know, these jokes are written like sometimes up until the minute.
The setup was simple. Ryan Reynolds decided to appear on SNL at a moment when he and Blake were already under pressure. They were dealing with rumors of trouble from another celebrity, Justin Baldoni, who allegedly had complicated history with Blake. Right in the midst of all that, Ryan appeared in a comedic bit, apparently believing a lighthearted cameo was the right move despite a legal storm. One single offhand question, "Hey Ryan, how's it going?" led to him joking in a way that implied he was anxious about hidden issues. The audience seemed torn between laughter and shock, sensing something real was hanging in the air.
Oh, who else has a question?
I have a question.
Oh, hey, Ryan Reynolds.
Hi.
Hey. How's it going?
Great. Why? What have you heard?
Enter Colin Jost, whose off-the-cuff, yet likely carefully planned, commentary took aim at Justin Baldoni wanting to work with Blake again. It referenced a larger political analogy, but suddenly flipped to targeting Blake herself. Many viewers felt that was a big risk. A comedic zinger tying Justin's supposed desire to collaborate again to a possibly doomed political relationship. It was a quick line, but it landed with force.
Colin is now married to Scarlett Johansson, who Ryan Reynolds allegedly, the rumors are, cheated on her with Blake Lively.
Some online voices pointed out that Colin Jost is married to Scarlett Johansson, famously one of Ryan Reynolds' exes, adding another layer of intrigue. Whatever the intent, the crowd grasped that a loaded personal dig had just been leveled on live television. The internet exploded. People loved dissecting every nuance of big Hollywood relationships. And this was prime material.
What? Listen to Colin crack even before he says it, because he knows this is going to get me in trouble.
Which is like Justin Baldoni saying, I'd love to work with Blake again.
News outlets and fans latched onto that short moment. Many said it was catastrophic for Blake's carefully shaped image as a gracious, relatable star. Suddenly, articles appeared questioning her authenticity, re-examining old rumors, and mocking the idea that Justin Baldoni would ever want to work with her again. Social media erupted with theories, memes, and heated debates. Within 24 hours, 3.5 million people had viewed or reposted snippets of the joke, turning it into a viral phenomenon. According to whispers in the industry, Blake panicked. This was not just another negative headline. This was an everyone is laughing, pointing fingers, and losing trust situation. Some older interviews where fellow A-listers once praised Blake were revisited, now with cynicism about whether that praise was genuine. Meanwhile, Ryan was under fresh scrutiny for apparently making jokes at a time when he should have been quietly handling their shared crisis.
Her playing, why? Was there something wrong? Yeah, clearly, guys, the joke didn't hit.
In an attempt to manage the fallout, Blake made a dramatic move. She hired Nick Shapiro, an individual with reported ties to high-level intelligence work, including alleged involvement in media-focused crisis management. People found this unusual. Hollywood stars do bring in crisis PR, but rarely someone with a background in intelligence operations. That level of involvement signaled how desperate or serious the situation might have become for her.
Why? Because, we're making light of the whole situation because it centers on your wife accusing a guy of, right? That's why it's no laughing matter. So
Online commentators pointed out how Blake had previously criticized others, like Justin Baldoni, for using strong PR tactics to sway public opinion. They said it was hypocritical for her to label Justin's actions manipulative, then bring in someone rumored to have managed political-level controversies. Suddenly, the lawsuit chatter took on a new dimension. It felt like a campaign of narrative control, with the press inundated by articles proclaiming, "Huge win for Blake," or "Judge backs Blake's legal strategy." But if you looked closely, there was little actual evidence of her scoring big legal victories. Observers noted that Blake's requests in court had reportedly been scaled back or rejected, despite headlines insisting it was all going her way.
Now, what's fascinating, though, is the judge denied it. The judge was like, nope, you do not have a good enough excuse.
Instead of diffusing the drama, each new PR push seemed to call more attention to the core conflicts. Some fans began asking why, if Blake's case was so strong, she needed these extraordinary measures. Rumors spread that the judge had dismissed a portion of her demands as overreaching. Credibility began to fracture. People who might otherwise have supported Blake's cause suddenly doubted the entire premise.
Learning more about Blake, her mother, the way she is, the entitlement and selfishness and demands she needs to have in order to have authority. It doesn't surprise me that she has spun this narrative in her favor.
Meanwhile, coverage turned toward Ryan Reynolds, who faced a separate embarrassing controversy. An old clip resurfaced in which he told a story about unintentionally staring at a woman who was breastfeeding in public. While that might have been dismissed as just awkward comedic storytelling, it collided with Blake's allegations against another individual, James Heath, for allegedly making eye contact while she was nursing. Critics said, wait, Blake condemns a man for momentary eye contact, but Ryan openly admits to staring and sees it as a funny anecdote? This exposed a double standard. If Blake considered fleeting glances deeply violating, How could Ryan's extended staring be shrugged off? That contradiction struck a nerve. People felt that the couple was applying one set of rules to themselves and another to everyone else. Ryan's comedic reputation suddenly clashed with the seriousness of Blake's allegations, undercutting sympathy for her. Those once in her corner started to wonder if her accusations had been exaggerated.
This is what blew me away. When she first came out with all this, I went, what he is, you know? And as a...
Everyone did.
Then, the dominoes began to fall. In Hollywood, image is everything, and support can vanish overnight. Instead of seeing big names rally behind Blake, we witnessed her co-stars and partners giving tepid, awkward responses when pressed about her. They seemed either uncomfortable discussing her or pivoted to generic statements about supporting everyone. One example was a castmate from Blake's upcoming project who was asked, "How are you supporting her at this time?" He answered something along the lines of, "It's complicated." Another high-profile colleague gave the bare minimum of praise, mostly as a means to preserve the film's marketability, but never enthusiastically defended her.
We'll do what we want because we're more powerful than you. And he finally had enough and he countersued.
Commentators pointed out that this is what happens when an A-list figure becomes a liability. No one trashes them overtly, they just step away politely until that star is left to face the storm alone. Media watchers recalled similarly swift industry pivots with other embattled celebrities in the past. Meanwhile, Ryan tried leaning into humor, something he's long been praised for. Yet, in the middle of a legal fiasco, that light approach seemed to highlight just how serious the accusations against them had become. On top of that, the tension with Colin Jost added layers. People speculated about how Jost's personal connection, he's married to Scarlett Johansson, an ex-partner of Ryan, might be fueling or influencing these quips. Whether or not that's the case, many concluded that Ryan's comedic style was no longer charming the public as it once did.
Yes, she's allowed to have one, but why were you criticizing Justin? So anything Justin does is retaliation? Anytime he defends himself, it's retaliation? Nonsense. And you're telling me, Blake, you didn't leak this out?
Blake reportedly doubled down. Instead of quietly letting the chatter die down and focusing on her legal arguments, she used public relations techniques that felt overzealous. Some outlets posted triumphant headlines about her lawsuit, claiming she'd won a crucial victory. But legal observers pointed out that the actual court documents did not substantiate those glowing articles. Her requests, it seems, had largely been denied or restricted. Viewers drew comparisons to big celebrity showdowns, where each side tried to spin minor procedural updates into total victories. As the PR machinery churned, more people in the film and television community started keeping their distance. Big productions require bankable names with minimal baggage. If co-stars or directors sense that an actor's off-screen headlines overshadow the project, they may quietly pivot away. Producer chatter turned from praising Blake to carefully sidestepping mention of her. Even brand endorsements she was known for started to look shaky.
And sometimes I would have people who really resented that because they were like, we just hired you to be an actor. Yet when I went in the meetings, I would just seem like I'm just there to be the actor and ready to get the gig. I wouldn't reveal that I actually need to have authorship in order to fill.
But this fallout extended beyond professional relationships and audience opinion. According to various rumor mills, there were new tensions surfacing with multiple brands and advertisers who had previously tied themselves to Blake's wholesome public image. In the past, she'd been tapped as a face for lifestyle ventures, family-friendly marketing campaigns, and even philanthropic projects. The sudden swirl of legal controversies and perceived hypocrisy threatened to fracture those long-term partnerships. Executives who once boasted about her warmth and class were now issuing guarded statements, claiming they needed more time to assess the current situation. Some industry insiders also suggested that the high profile of Blake's crisis PR tactics, especially the hiring of an ex-intelligence operative, made them skittish. It signaled to them that this was not a classic Hollywood dust-up, but rather something deeper and potentially damaging. They worried about being portrayed as complicit in media manipulation or hush-up schemes. For a celebrity best known for balancing youthful glamour with down-to-earth appeal, it was the kind of baggage that made even seasoned producers wary.
His job, he had blank checks to make things go away so that it didn't get to the media. Short-term rentals had featured this and said the cash has been given to both hosts and guests.
Meanwhile, entire online communities latched onto every shred of information, dissecting every rumored email, every snippet of alleged court documents. The situation started to resemble past celebrity showdowns that turned into social media feeding frenzies, where fans and critics poured over every detail in real time. Some cornered the saga as a reflection of deeper issues in Hollywood: who receives protection, how narratives are spun, and what the consequences are when supposed double standards get exposed. Industry speculation grew about whether future films or collaborations with Blake or Ryan might be quietly put on hold. Casting directors pay close attention to online chatter. Whether fair or not, the momentum of negative sentiment can alter the perceived value of a star, if enough talk suggests that a celebrity's personal or legal woes might overshadow a project. Studios often shift gears. Titles once set to star or feature cameo appearances by either of them could see a rework in marketing or even recasting choices.
Cathartic. As if I'm Weasel.
Right.
So he was like, you know what's great about you, Weasel? You're not the star, but you just, you do just enough exposition that it's funny, and then we can leave and get back to the real movie.
So he's riffed.
Moreover, there were hints that scripts Blake had been attached to for a while were getting passed around to confirm whether they could proceed without her involvement. Some rumored that mid-budget dramas, where her presence used to be a selling point, were now reviewing alternative leads. To the outside eye, these might look like small changes, but behind the scenes, it's a clear sign that the entertainment machine has begun hedging its bets. For Ryan, the comedic approach that once seemed so effortless was increasingly viewed as tone-deaf. Jokes that might have come across as charming in past roles, even his trademark wisecracking style as certain popular characters, started to look like deflection. Commentators noted how Ryan's PR strategies typically revolve around a playful public persona, but with talk of lawsuits, ex-intelligence PR hires, and serious allegations, the lines between comedic brand building and public denial had blurred in ways that made people question his sincerity.
Blake clearly had no idea what kind of a mess she was getting herself into.
Some fans voiced concern on message boards, saying they felt misled by the couple's carefully curated image. They cited older interviews where both spoke about family values, trust, and authenticity. The breastfeeding incident in particular became a flashpoint. If Blake was pressing legal arguments that a man's fleeting glance was traumatic, how could Ryan's open admission of prolonged staring be brushed off? That dissonance ignited fierce debates on social networks, turning even some loyal supporters into skeptics.
She can hire a PR crisis manager, that's fine, but if Justin does it, it's not to protect himself, but it's to destroy her.
As the saga trudged on, a meta-conversation arose about the nature of public spats in modern Hollywood. When the story involves top-tier names, huge lawsuit figures, and sensational rumors, it can dominate headlines for months. Some observers drew parallels to other high-profile defamation and harassment suits that captured global attention. They pointed out how each side's moves, like strategic leaks, press releases, or cameo appearances on late-night TV, are orchestrated to sway public sympathy. Blake's intelligence-linked hire seemed, to many, like a particularly brazen instance of that. Meanwhile, legal experts weighed in, stressing that the ultimate outcome would hinge on verifiable evidence: documents, witnesses, consistent testimony, and not just the swirling commentary on social media. If Blake's claims lacked substance, no amount of heavy-duty PR could salvage them in the eyes of a court. And if Ryan kept inadvertently feeding the rumor mill with offhand remarks, it might further dilute any supportive narrative they were trying to build.
It's really interesting. A lot of them are just not looking at him at all, even though he's standing and talking. That's really interesting.
There's been a lot of talk about Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively lately, and it might not be the good kind of talk that they are used to. For a long time, people have seen them as a very happy couple. They appear on red carpets, do interviews, and share jokes that make fans laugh. But now, it seems like many celebrities are stepping forward to say that this perfect couple image might be hiding some real problems.
Because there are some people who feel like he is the one who's driving all of this and telling Blake. I don't think that seems very unfair to Blake Lively.
That's
to me,
pretty diabolical.
According to these people, Ryan and Blake have made shady moves in Hollywood that are starting to come to light. This drama is getting bigger every day. People are saying that the couple used sneaky tactics to keep their image spotless, and now it might be falling apart. There are strong claims that they have scammed people or tried to control situations in order to stay on top.
Ryan Reynolds, this is his thing. He's a Taylor Swift of the movie industry. When he gets upset with somebody, he puts them into
a script.
A lot of this started when Blake Lively made serious accusations against her co-star and director Justin Baldoni on the set of a movie called It Ends With Us. She said that Justin harassed her, and this got people's attention right away. At first, many believed her claims because she had been seen as a good, honest person for years. But then, Justin Baldoni turned around and filed a huge lawsuit against both Blake and Ryan for $400 million. That is a very large amount of money, and it means the accusations are extremely serious.
The Justin Baldoni war with Blake Lively, which seems to me, initially I felt quite sorry for Blake Lively, then I've been reading all the messages, and it just seems like a pair of absolute weapons-grade narcissist.
He said Blake and Ryan defamed him, tried to get money from him, and tried to take over the entire movie project. That is a big deal in Hollywood, because nobody wants to have their name dragged through the mud with serious claims like those. Once Justin Baldoni started speaking out, more people in the industry began to share their own stories. Some said that Blake and Ryan have a pattern of using their popularity and power to get their way. They suggested that the couple might even stir up public sympathy by creating stories that make them look like the victims.
We had a really weird moment on Deadpool where he said, let's do one more take. And everyone was like, okay. And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. And then as the character, he was like horrifically mean to me.
This is very surprising for fans who saw Ryan and Blake as the golden couple of Hollywood. They have joked about each other on social media, shared cute posts, and seem to have a marriage free from drama. But if these stories are true, it could mean that they have a history of making deals behind the scenes, cutting people out, and pushing certain narratives to help themselves.
All through the text messages, you'll see over and over and over again him saying, I don't want to hurt her. I want to protect her. Let's give her what she wants.
One of the biggest questions right now is whether Blake and Ryan's perfect-looking public image is really fake. Some people say they have never found them convincing as the nicest couple ever. Others are shocked by the news. Whatever the truth may be, the gossip in Hollywood is that they might have some manipulative habits that are finally catching up with them. Everything looks like it might blow up now that Justin Baldoni, along with other celebs, is speaking out.
Sources with direct knowledge tell TMZ lots of the stars who attended the events on Sunday were confused as to why Blake and Ryan appeared on the show while they battled it out in court surrounding the movie It Ends With Us.
Even though Blake Lively's allegations against Justin Baldoni were serious, people in the industry began to wonder if those claims were true or just part of a plan. Some insiders said the timing was odd or that Blake might have had another reason for bringing up these harassment charges. Then came the giant lawsuit from Justin, and he seemed ready to fight Blake and Ryan in court over these claims. He said they tried to hurt his reputation and hijack the movie project.
So the story goes, essentially, he says she didn't even read the book before signing on to the project. Then she read the book and kind of became consumed with it and wanted to basically introduce her own lines and wanted to become a part of the project and rework the script.
He also said they wanted to twist the story so the public would turn against him and see Blake and Ryan as the ones who were mistreated. This is a huge mess, and fans are watching closely to see how it unfolds. It's also worth noting that other celebrities are starting to comment on the situation. People in Hollywood often stay silent to avoid getting involved in lawsuits or burning bridges. But this time, some of them are dropping hints that they support Justin. They say they have seen Ryan or Blake act in ways that don't match the perfect, friendly image we normally see on social media and at events.
I defend Justin Baldoni in this lawsuit with Blake Lively because I think she's horrible and she's made up this whole thing because she tried to steal his movie. But he is the most overly feminized man I've had to endure in recent history.
This is making fans wonder if maybe Ryan and Blake have a habit of creating drama whenever it suits them. For a while now, rumors have followed Ryan Reynolds suggesting that he might not be as nice as he looks in interviews and funny social media posts. The first clue for many was when the cast of Jersey Shore had a run-in with him. They suggested that he might not always be in a good mood or that he can be pretty rude. That might not be such a big deal if it was just one time, but it added to the stories that Ryan can be unfriendly when the cameras are off.
But he was rude. Who? Ryan Reynolds. Yeah, not great to us.
What was Ryan Reynolds?
Then we have actress Rebecca Ferguson, who talked about being treated badly on a set by a co-star. She said it was a very bad experience for her, though she never said the person's name. People started guessing that it might have been Ryan. There is no hard proof, but fans were suspicious because they knew it wasn't Tom Cruise or Hugh Jackman, and they were trying to figure out who else it could be.
I did a film with an absolute idiot of a co-star.
And this human being was being so insecure and angry because this person couldn't get the scenes out. And I think I was so vulnerable and uncomfortable that I got screamed at.
Some of Ryan's old friendships also began to fade. He used to be close with actor Jake Gyllenhaal, but now they hardly interact. Fans wondered if there was a falling out. Nobody has confirmed what happened, but gossip sites say that Ryan might have done something that crossed a line with Jake.
We know you have an ongoing feud with Ryan.
Who?
You know that guy. What's it gonna take for him to actually be BFFs with you?
Well, I mean, in truth, there was a time in which we were.
Another situation was with Morena Baccarin, who was a leading lady in the first Deadpool movie. In the second film, her role got a lot smaller, and then she barely showed up during promotions. People guessed that something must have happened between her and Ryan. When the sequel was being promoted, she seemed to be left out of events and red carpet photos, which is unusual for someone who was a main love interest in the first film. The rumor is that Ryan forced her aside because they had a disagreement, and he wanted to show he was in control.
But somebody else who is very connected to this reached out and said, Candace, you're 90% there. You're just missing one thing. And I'm beginning to wonder, and listen, full speculation, no proof, for him to go that crazy.
Then there's TJ Miller, who also co-starred in the Deadpool movies. TJ said he found Ryan so difficult to be around that he refused to come back for Deadpool 3, no matter how much money he was offered. He said Ryan tried to make him feel small on set, and that it was not a joke, but a real effort to put him down. TJ believed Ryan was insecure and trying to prove he was the bigger star. This led TJ to walk away from the franchise and say he would never work with Ryan again. That is a very big statement to make.
Cathartic. As if I'm Weasel.
Right.
So he was like, you know what's great about you, Weasel? You're not the star, but you just, you do just enough exposition that it's funny, and then we can leave and get back to the real movie. The whole crew was acting weird.
If you think about it, Deadpool has been extremely successful, so leaving it behind means TJ must have had some really bad experiences with Ryan. Tim Miller, the director of the first Deadpool movie, also left the project before the second movie was made. He said Ryan Reynolds wanted total control over the direction of the franchise. Tim felt pushed out because Ryan was not open to sharing creative power. This meant Tim did not want to fight a losing battle, so he walked away.
Fan theory is that Ryan Reynolds saw that scene in It Ends With Us, and it was a trigger.
This matches the stories that Ryan tries to be the main decision maker in his projects, and if you do not agree with him, you might be replaced. All these bits of gossip show a pattern. Ryan seems like he might be very charming on screen and online, but behind the scenes, some people find him hard to deal with. They say he is controlling, insecure, and not as friendly as he acts in public. Of course, this is all from people's stories, and fans have not seen direct proof beyond their statements and the changes in cast and crew around Ryan's projects. Still, it creates a certain picture of who Ryan might be when he is not performing for an audience.
Because there are some people who feel like he is the one who's driving all of this and telling Blake. I don't think that seems very unfair to Blake Lively.
That's
to me,
pretty diabolical.
These rumors also extend to Ryan's personal life. He was once married to Scarlett Johansson, and that relationship ended in a very public divorce. Scarlett hinted that the marriage was volatile and that Ryan's insecurities led to many problems. When Scarlett's career started to skyrocket with major roles in Iron Man 2 and The Avengers.
We weren't married very long, but we were married when I met you. When I first met you for Iron Man, whatever. Yeah, I was married.
We love a good Ryan Reynolds in our house.
Ryan was apparently not thrilled. According to Scarlett, it was tough to be in a marriage where one partner did not like the other partner's success. She described it as Ryan becoming jealous when she began getting bigger movie deals and more attention. This made things awkward, and it led to a competitive feeling that hurt the marriage. Their relationship did not last long, and they eventually split. Fans were sad, but at the time, many people blamed Scarlett, saying that perhaps she was the reason the marriage didn't work. However, her more recent comments suggest that Ryan's insecurities and controlling behavior played a huge part.
I would never have probably been ready for a relationship like the one that I have with Colin at different times in my life because I wasn't comfortable setting my own boundaries. I didn't know what I wanted, but like what I needed from somebody else.
During Ryan and Scarlett's marriage, there were rumors that Ryan was getting very close to Blake Lively on the set of Green Lantern. Gossip claimed that their chemistry was easy to notice. So, if Ryan was unhappy in his marriage and also hooking up with Blake, it could explain why he decided to leave Scarlett. People who followed this gossip believe that Ryan found someone new who made him feel like he was in control, and that might have led to the end of his marriage with Scarlett. Of course, Blake Lively also benefited from being linked to Ryan because it helped raise her her profile. She was well known for Gossip Girl, but being with Ryan made her a bigger star in the public's eyes. Even though Ryan has had some big hits like Deadpool, many directors and fellow actors are not too fond of him, especially if they have strong opinions about what real cinema is. Quentin Tarantino, for example, does not think much of Ryan's filmography. Tarantino considers Ryan's projects to be forgettable or lacking in deeper quality.
I never realized, oh, it's really important for me. I need to be with a compassionate person. That's like a fundamental characteristic that has to be there.
Tarantino also does not like the idea of making movies for streaming platforms, and Ryan has done a lot of that with Netflix. So, from Tarantino's viewpoint, Ryan is just another actor who makes a lot of money, but not real art. Another well-known director, Chris Columbus, who created some of the most classic family films like Home Alone, got upset when he heard about Ryan's plan to make a stoner version of Home Alone called Stoned Alone. This reboot idea featured a man who grows weed, misses his flight, and then deals with thieves breaking into his house. Chris Columbus said that was not only insulting to the legacy of Home Alone, but also disrespectful to the art of cinema. He basically told Ryan to go watch the original Home Alone, rather than try to remake it in such a silly way. This made it clear that big Hollywood names who care about classic films do not see Ryan's work as valuable or respectful. Gerard Butler also had some choice words about Ryan. When people compared Gerard's movie Gamer to Ryan's movie Free Guy, Gerard was not impressed. Both movies involve virtual reality, but Gerard said he does not watch Ryan Reynolds films. It seemed like a jab at Ryan's career, implying that Ryan's movies are not worth watching. When you hear all these big names, Tarantino, Columbus, Butler, showing little respect for Ryan's projects, it starts to sound like Ryan has not made many friends among certain directors and actors who value more traditional cinema or who have had negative encounters with him. Now, let's circle back to the current issue involving Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni, and Ryan Reynolds. When Blake accused Justin Baldoni of harassment, it was huge news. But then Justin fired back with his lawsuit, which included claims that Ryan and Blake tried to smear him.
To take all of these digs at Justin Baldoni, again, which makes all of us not believe that she was actually sexually harassed, and rather they were moving to try to squeeze her and to eventually just have Blake replace Justin Baldoni.
This suggests that maybe more people have had experiences with the couple's alleged manipulation. Some are saying that Ryan and Blake have done this kind of thing before, stirring up drama to look like the wounded party and keep the public on their side. Before this, they had a great reputation as a married duo who joked on social media and seemed perfect. But now, we are seeing a lot of cracks in that image. With each passing day, the gossip only grows stronger. Adding more fuel to the fire, Ryan and Blake made an appearance on Saturday Night Live's 50th anniversary special. People think they did this to try to control the story about their lawsuit and Blake's claims of harassment. Ryan supposedly joked about the legal battle with Justin, while Blake stood there supporting him. However, many fans felt this was done in very bad taste, given the seriousness of the accusations against Justin and the drama swirling around them.
Ryan Reynolds, how's it going?
Great. Why? What have you heard?
The audience did not find it funny. Justin's lawyer even asked how anyone could joke about something as serious as harassment claims. Instead of fixing their image, it only made Ryan and Blake look more suspicious. All of this is leading to a major question among fans and people in the industry. Have Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively been faking it all along? Were they a Hollywood power couple by design, using certain tricks to stay popular and step on others when necessary? Or are they just misunderstood?
I'm unaware of anybody, frankly, whose wife has been sexually harassed and has made jokes about that type of situation.
And all these stories are coming out because they are easy targets? We do not know for sure, but the allegations are piling up, and it is getting harder for the couple to just laugh them off or make jokes on social media. More and more people are sharing negative experiences about Ryan or suspicious stories about how Blake has handled different projects. Nobody is certain how much is real and how much is just Hollywood gossip, but it is clear that the couple is now under a microscope like never before. Many fans who used to love them are finding themselves confused. Some are defending them, saying that people are just jealous of their success and happiness. Others feel disappointed, saying that if even half of these accusations are true, it means Ryan and Blake have not been honest about who they really are. The part that seems most troubling for many is the possibility that they faked an entire image for the public, acting like they are funny and wholesome, while actually being ruthless behind the scenes. We also have to look at the fact that Ryan has been called insecure by more than one person, including some of his exes. If these stories are right, maybe maybe his desire for control has caused him to clash with directors like Tim Miller, actors like TJ Miller, co-stars like Morena Baccarin, and maybe even his friends like Jake Gyllenhaal. The same insecurities could have played a part in the downfall of his marriage to Scarlett Johansson. Scarlett even called her time with Ryan volatile, which is a very strong word. Fans are now reevaluating everything they have seen from Ryan and wondering if he has been hiding a different side. On Blake's end, she has usually been seen as sweet, stylish, and friendly. She was a big star on Gossip Girl and later starred in movies like The Shallows and A Simple Favor. People have loved her fashion sense and the way she teases Ryan on social media. But if Justin Baldoni's lawsuit has any truth, Blake may have teamed up with Ryan to spin stories in their favor. Her accusations of harassment against Justin are serious, but some worry she used them as a weapon to gain leverage. If that is true, it could mean she is not the innocent person fans thought she was. Because of all these angles, the story is far from over. If more celebrities speak out, it will either strengthen Justin Baldoni's case or force Ryan and Blake to reveal their side of the story in more detail. If they can prove that Justin's lawsuit is false, they might recover their reputation. But if more evidence or testimonies appear that support Justin's claims, then Ryan and Blake could face a total collapse of their carefully crafted image. This is the kind of scandal that can change Hollywood careers, ending some and boosting others. Right now, a lot of fans are rewatching old interviews and comedic bits Ryan and Blake have done, wondering if they missed some signs that the couple was not as perfect as they seemed. People are taking a second look at how Ryan behaves in press interviews and how Blake handles tough questions from reporters. They are examining photos where co-stars look uncomfortable around them, or times when certain people were suddenly left out of press tours or sequels. Only time will tell if these two can hold on to their fan base and if they can prove the rumors wrong. Maybe in a few months, everyone will have moved on to the next big scandal, and Ryan and Blake will still be together, posting cute jokes online and getting big movie roles. Or maybe this lawsuit and the news stories popping up will keep going until they can no longer hide behind their PR tactics. People will be paying close attention to any updates. For now, the situation looks really messy. The more they try to joke or distract the public, the more suspicious it seems. Fans are waiting for real answers, not just witty quips on TV or social media. With everything that has come out, the main takeaway is that Ryan and Blake might not be the perfect sweethearts everyone thought they were. If they have been using manipulative moves to get to the top, that might come back to haunt them. Right now, more celebrities are saying they have seen these shady tactics firsthand. We have not heard from all of them publicly yet, but the rumors suggest there are more people with negative things to say. If that is the case, we could see many more revelations in the weeks and months ahead. What do regular people think about all this? Some folks on social media say they knew something was off for a while, while others are in total shock. People are trying to recall moments when Ryan or Blake seemed uncomfortable or rude in interviews. They are trying to remember times when co-stars vanished from projects for no obvious reason. It does feel like there have been some weird moments in Ryan's career, especially with Deadpool. TJ Miller's situation stands out because he openly said he would never go back, no matter how much money they offered. Then, Tim Miller leaving as director was another red flag that many people overlooked. Blake's part in all this is still unfolding. She has generally stayed out of negative headlines, so these harassment allegations and the lawsuit involving Justin Baldoni are a new type of spotlight for her. If more people say they have had bad experiences with her, that will build the case that she might not be as sweet and easygoing as people thought. If no one else comes forward, maybe she can claim that Justin's accusations are false. But right now, that $400 million lawsuit is looming over her and Ryan, and they are going to have to answer for it one way or another. In conclusion, everything points to the idea that Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively are not looking as perfect as they did before. A lot of famous people are talking about them, sharing stories, or dropping hints about past incidents that the couple probably wanted to keep hidden. Their attempt to control the story by joking on Saturday Night Live seems to have backfired. Fans are asking tough questions, and more celebrities are backing up the rumors that Ryan can be rude, controlling, and insecure.
I guess Blake Lively's concrete evidence isn't as concrete as she hyped. Meanwhile, the only evidence we're actually getting is stuff that's exposing Blake Lively.
She's quoted as saying, "I actually poisoned the whole cast against her co-star and boyfriend, Penn Badgley."
Hugh Jackman just dropped a bombshell, and it's sending shockwaves through Hollywood. Did he just expose Blake Lively as the secret boss of the Deadpool Wolverine project? This shocking twist has fans scrambling for answers. Now fans everywhere are asking, why is Blake Lively calling the shots? And how did this behind-the-scenes bombshell even happen? Stay tuned, because we're digging into this explosive story. And trust us, you won't want to miss a second of it.
But right here, look at this name, Gordon Reynolds. Well, who's Gordon Reynolds? Oh, it must be like someone related to Ryan Reynolds, right? That's clearly just a Ryan Reynolds thing. Nope. Gordon Reynolds was the name that Ryan used to attribute who played Nice Pool.
A shocking behind-the-scenes drama is happening on the set of the new Deadpool and Wolverine movie. Hugh Jackman, who plays Wolverine, is making headlines by claiming that Blake Lively took over the film's production. This shocking claim sounds like a movie plot, but it's stirring up real excitement and talk online. Fans and movie insiders are trying to figure out what's true and what might just be a wild rumor. It all started with a simple photo that Blake Lively posted from the movie set.
But it didn't just end there. I don't know how I didn't remember this scene. Lady Pool, portrayed by Blake Lively, gets to take Nice Pool down. Here it is.
Uzi time, baby.
In the picture, she was wearing Deadpool's famous red color as she kissed her husband Ryan Reynolds, who plays Deadpool. That one snapshot sent fans into a frenzy, with many wondering if Blake had a secret role in the film as a female Deadpool. But what seemed like a fun cameo idea was just the beginning. New reports now say that Blake Lively's involvement went way beyond a quick cameo. People on set whisper that Blake didn't just visit, she started giving ideas and making big decisions. In fact,
they couldn't resist. They couldn't just do a little knock and like, they had to like shove it in his face.
The director even said a suggestion from Blake changed how the movie ends. That behind-the-scenes influence has some people saying she practically took over production. Hugh Jackman is said to be stunned by how much control Blake had. In a dramatic twist, Jackman is reportedly exposing that Blake Lively was calling the shots on set, perhaps more than anyone realized. This bold move caused tension behind the scenes.
So all of Ryan Reynolds' jokes in Deadpool, his jokes to Sandra Bullock, and everywhere else on the internet was really something that you guys concocted.
And now it's spilling out into public view. The idea of a famous actress secretly running a huge superhero movie sounds unbelievable, but sources insist there's some truth to it, even if it's been exaggerated. The whole situation has fans divided and buzzing. Some find it hard to believe Blake Lively could have so much power. After all, she isn't part of the official crew. Others point out that as Ryan Reynolds' wife, she might have had special access and influence on the project. Is this just a case of a supportive wife giving helpful advice, or did Blake really hijack the project?
Oh my goodness, wait till you see Lady Pool. She is gorgeous.
Lady Pool was played by Blake Lively.
She just had a baby too, and can't even tell. I don't think you're supposed to say that. That's okay. I identify as a feminist.
And why is Hugh Jackman speaking out about it now? As this breaking story develops, one thing is clear. It's one of the craziest Hollywood twists of the year. Part truth and part rumor, this tale of Blake Lively supposedly taking over the Deadpool and Wolverine movie has everyone talking. Stay tuned for more details on what Hugh Jackman revealed and how this all happened. This is one drama you won't want to miss. Blake Lively has just been completely exposed for what she truly is. A manipulative, calculating, and ruthless force in Hollywood who poisons entire casts against people she doesn't like. She plays the innocent, charming, girl-next-door type in public, but behind the scenes, she's nothing but a high-powered bully who thrives on destroying others.
It doesn't get better from there, by the way, just to be clear. Let's now move on to point 6 of this, because this is where it gets interesting. Again, it's the way they use language. It's just so wildly manipulative.
She didn't just turn the cast of It Ends With Us against Justin Baldoni. She's been doing this for years. She did the exact same thing to Penn Badgley back when they worked together on Gossip Girl. She didn't just dislike him, she actively worked to make his time on set miserable. And why? Because she didn't like that he was hired for the role. Penn Badgley was more than qualified, but in Blake's mind, that didn't matter. She wanted him gone, and when she couldn't get him fired, she made sure everyone on set turned against him instead.
This comes from a Glamour interview where she admits to poisoning the whole cast against co-star Penn Badgley.
She even admitted to this, speaking about it like it was just a fun little game, as if completely destroying someone's work environment was something to laugh about. That's the kind of person she is, someone who takes pride in making others suffer just because she can. And now, she's pulled the same stunt on Justin Baldoni, except this time, she went even further. She didn't just try to make his life miserable, she hijacked his entire movie, took creative control, and forced him into the background like he was an extra in his own project. He was the director, the producer, the one who got the rights to It Ends With Us.
I think she did with the cast of It Ends With Us, which was poison them against Justin.
And yet by the time the movie was finished, he didn't even get to see the final cut before it was released. He was pushed so far out of his own project that he was stuck in the basement at his own movie premiere, all while Blake paraded around as if she had created the film herself. And then, when people started asking too many questions, she did what she always does. She played the victim. She suddenly claimed that Justin had SH her, a claim that was not only completely unfounded, but was also debunked almost immediately. By the time the movie premiered, they weren't even speaking anymore.
First, I was so upset that they hired him, she says. I actually poisoned the whole cast against him, but then they noticed that he wasn't a jerk and was actually a really nice, charming person. Almost immediately, I realized that too, but it took me about a week to admit it.
And Blake had successfully convinced the entire industry that Justin was the problem. Even Ryan Reynolds, Blake's husband, turned against Justin. And just like that, she had manipulated yet another situation to her advantage. But here's the thing about lies. They don't last forever. Blake's manipulation is finally catching up to her. People are starting to see through her games. The only actual evidence that has surfaced is evidence that exposes her lies, her deceit, her backstabbing, and her toxic behavior. Let's talk about the way she leaked private text messages to make Justin look bad. She thought this would turn people against him, but when that didn't work, she suddenly demanded access to his phone record.
What a terrible person she is. More and more just coming forward. But no, she's perfect. She's a crown straightener.
She wanted his personal data to verify the texts she herself had leaked. Who does that? Who leaks private messages and then demands proof that they were real after the fact? That's not something an innocent person does. That's something a liar does when they're trying to cover their tracks. And if that wasn't bad enough, there's something even more shocking. Blake has been caught calling Ryan Reynolds and Taylor Swift her personal dragons. In leaked texts, she literally referred to them as her dragons who fight her battles for her. Who even talks like that? Who refers to their husband and best friend as dragons as if she's some medieval villain assembling an army? And apparently, she truly believes she's at war with Justin Baldoni because Ryan Reynolds allegedly bullied Justin behind the scenes, trying to force him to do what Blake wanted.
You know that Justin and his team promised to start releasing all of his correspondence with her.
Meanwhile, Taylor Swift publicly backed Blake's version of the film, completely shutting out Justin's vision just because Blake needed the extra support. But guess what? That backfired too. Now, there are rumors that Taylor and Blake aren't even on good terms anymore because Taylor is saying she's nobody's dragon. Even Taylor Swift, one of the most powerful celebrities in the world, is reportedly backing away from Blake because she sees how messy this entire situation has become. And when Taylor Swift starts distancing herself from you, that's when you know you've made some serious mistakes.
He's trying to sell some gin, and she's like, I need your help, little dragon. We're going to ruin people today.
It's like, all I do is buy soccer teams that win, sell tequila that people like, or vodka, or whatever it is. And he's like, generally stayed above, and now all of a sudden he is in the dirt with this.
And let's talk about the massive hypocrisy here. This is the same Blake Lively who has spent years acting like she's above Hollywood's toxic culture, the same woman who criticizes other actors for not taking their jobs seriously enough, the same woman who told Justin Baldoni that her career and reputation were at stake if things weren't done her way. And yet, this is the same woman who openly admitted that she never worked out a day in her life, never dieted, and just got lucky with her metabolism.
She's like, I need you to get on a Zoom with Taylor Swift, and we're ruining lives tonight.
Be very, very careful with your marriages, folks. This is the kind of
little
thing that
dragon. It
yeah,
is
but
diminishing.
to your point.
So let's get this straight. She expects everyone around her to work harder, to cater to her every demand, to sacrifice for her vision. But when it comes to actually putting in the work herself, oh no, that's just too much effort for Blake Lively. And now let's talk about Penn Badgley again, because this is where things get really interesting. The same man she tried to sabotage years ago, he's back. Not only is Penn thriving, but guess what? He and Justin Baldoni are actually—
They were with the outward-facing interviews, and talking to the hair and makeup crew about what they said behind the scenes was very enlightening. I'll just leave it at that.
Friends. That's right. The two men she tried to take down are now standing side by side. They're not just friendly, they're close. They serve on the same board of a charity, they share the same faith, and they've been seen together multiple times. And what about Blake? Penn doesn't even follow her on social media anymore. The woman he once dated, the woman he worked with for years, he has completely cut her off.
He's doesn't seem like the type of dude who goes out and speaks at a turn or complains about his exes or really anybody to that matter. He seems like a good guy.
But he does follow Justin Baldoni. That alone tells you everything you need to know about who Hollywood really trusts in this situation. Blake thought she could destroy Justin the same way she tried to destroy Penn, but instead, she just pushed two of her ex-victims together. The very people she tried to ruin are now standing side by side, watching her downfall unfold in real time. And let's not forget the fact that Justin Baldoni isn't just fighting back, he's suing. He's taking legal action for defamation, civil extortion, and breach of contract.
She doesn't want that to happen in the public. She wants it to happen in a jury. But will this really make it all the way to a judge? Of course not. So I understand why Justin's team is trying to get him out now, because at a certain point, this will all get thrown out, or settled or something, and Justin's career will be in the crosshairs if he doesn't fix it now.
This isn't just about reputation anymore. This is a $400 million lawsuit packed with receipts. The industry is watching, and Hollywood is slowly realizing they might have backed the wrong person. Blake Lively's career is built on lies, manipulation, and deceit. She's poisoned casts against people she doesn't like, destroyed reputations, and used her Hollywood power to silence those who stand in her way. But for the first time in her life, she's no longer in control of the narrative.
You didn't even need good lawyers. You just needed men who didn't want to go through the court system, and the women who were saying, well, we're going to come at you with sexual harassment and ruin your lives. And I'm thinking these are the kinds of lawyers and PR people that she has in her corner.
The public is watching. The evidence is piling up, and no amount of PR spin is going to save her now. Blake Lively thought she was untouchable, but the truth has finally caught up to her. And this time, she has nowhere to hide. Blake Lively's entire world is falling apart, and she has no one to blame but herself. For years, she's played the Hollywood game like a master manipulator, pretending to be the charming, all-American sweetheart while secretly pulling the strings behind the scenes to sabotage anyone who stands in her way.
You made the allegations first, and then you tried to make input and change the direction of the film. Are you saying that the chicken had to come before the egg?
But now, the truth is out, and there's no escaping the backlash. Blake has spent years poisoning casts against co-stars she doesn't like, turning sets into battlefields, and rewriting narratives to make herself look like the victim. But her latest stunt, trying to destroy Justin Baldoni's career, might just be the one that finally ends her reign of deception. She didn't just push Justin out of his own movie. She didn't just manipulate the cast and crew into siding with her. She straight up rewrote history, leaked fake evidence, and then had the audacity to demand his phone records to prove that he was lying. Who does that? Who fabricates messages and then asks for the other person's private data to justify their own lies?
First, you're going to make the threat, and then you're going to go, as you guys did, and they proved in the background.
That's not just manipulation, that's next level gaslighting. And let's talk about how she did the exact same thing to Penn Badgley. The moment she decided she didn't like him, she made sure the entire Gossip Girl cast turned against him. She admitted to this with her own mouth, laughing like it was some inside joke instead of a straight up confession of workplace bullying. And now she's done the exact same thing to Justin Baldoni, except this time she played for even bigger stakes. This wasn't just about making someone uncomfortable on set. This was about stealing a movie out from under its rightful director, taking full control, and then framing the person she betrayed as the villain. Blake was never content with just being the lead actress.
Yeah, the public noticed. The public noticed that things were weird, and things began to backfire on you.
She needed to be the one in charge. And when Justin pushed back, she did what she always does. She lied, she leaked texts, she painted herself as the victim, and she convinced Hollywood to turn on him before he could even defend himself. But there's one thing Blake didn't count on, the receipts. Because this time, she didn't just mess with some unknown actor who couldn't fight back. She went after a respected filmmaker, a man with years of credibility in the industry, a man who had the power to expose her lies with actual legal evidence. And now, he's doing exactly that.
Why many of the film's cast and crew had unfollowed crisis PR mode because you guys orchestrated having a bunch of people unfollow him in the style of your best friend Taylor Swift, and the public noticed.
Justin's lawsuit is the biggest threat Blake has ever faced, and she knows it. This isn't just a PR disaster, this is a financial and legal catastrophe. He's suing for defamation, civil extortion, and breach of contract. That's a $400 million lawsuit backed by one of Hollywood's top legal teams. And no amount of manipulation or industry connections are going to make this go away. And here's where things get even worse for Blake. She thought she had everyone on her side. She thought Ryan Reynolds and Taylor Swift would back her up, no questions asked. But even that's starting to fall apart. Reports are swirling that Taylor is backing away from Blake because she doesn't want to be caught up in the drama. And Ryan, well, let's just say there are rumors that he's not thrilled about being dragged into this mess. Blake literally referred to Ryan and Taylor as her dragons in leaked text messages. Who does that? Who treats their husband and best friend like some kind of personal attack squad? And for what? To destroy the career of a man who did nothing but try to protect the integrity of his own film? The fact that Taylor might be distancing herself from Blake is huge. Because if Taylor Swift, one of the most loyal people in Hollywood, starts backing away, that tells you everything you need to know about where this is headed. Blake is losing control of the narrative, and she knows it. And let's not forget Penn Badgley, because this is where it gets even better. The same man she tried to blacklist years ago, he's thriving. Not only is he one of Netflix's biggest stars thanks to you, but he's also friends with Justin Baldoni. That's right, the two men Blake tried to ruin are now standing side by side, watching as her empire crumbles. And here's the kicker, Penn doesn't even follow Blake on social media anymore. He's completely cut her off, but he does follow Justin. That's says everything. Blake Lively built her career on manipulation. She climbed to the top by stepping on people, twisting the truth, and using her connections to rewrite reality. But now, the people she tried to destroy are thriving, while she's stuck in the middle of a legal and PR nightmare that she cannot spin her way out of. And Hollywood is starting to turn on her. Studios don't want to work with someone who brings this much drama. Brands don't want to attach their name to someone being compared to Amber Heard. Even her biggest supporters are staying quiet. And when the people who used to back you up suddenly have nothing to say, that's when you know you're in trouble. Blake thought she was untouchable, but the truth has finally caught up to her. And this time, there's no getting out of it. Blake Lively's downfall is happening in real time, and the more she tries to cover her tracks, the worse it gets. For years, she played the innocent Hollywood sweetheart, but behind the scenes, she was pulling every manipulative trick in the book to sabotage her co-stars, poison entire casts, and steal control of projects that weren't hers to begin with. But now, the truth is out, and the very people she tried to bury are the ones standing tall while she scrambles to save her career. The way she tried to destroy Justin Baldoni is just another example of her toxic behavior. She didn't just push him out of It Ends With Us, she systematically erased his influence, manipulated the cast against him, and then had the audacity to frame him as the villain. She used the same playbook she used against Penn Badgley years ago on Gossip Girl, where she admitted to turning the entire cast against him just because she didn't like that he was hired for the role. She thought she could do it again. She thought she could control the media narrative, make Justin look like the bad guy, and come out on top like she always does. But this time, she underestimated just how much evidence there was against her. Justin's lawsuit exposed her entire operation. The fake text leaks, the behind-the-scenes manipulation, the way she forced rewrites and took full control of a film that was never hers in the first place. It's all out in the open now. And worse for her, she tried to claim he was launching a smear campaign against her, when in reality, all the receipts coming out have been her own doing. The only thing being exposed here is her lies. And speaking of lies, let's talk about how deep her manipulation really goes. Blake didn't just try to ruin Justin Baldoni's reputation, she also dragged Ryan Reynolds and Taylor Swift into her mess. She literally referred to them as her dragons, the people who would fight for her when things got messy. What kind of person talks about their husband and best friend like that? Like they're her personal soldiers instead of real people with their own lives? But here's where it gets really interesting. Taylor Swift is reportedly backing away from Blake. That's a huge deal. If Taylor, who is known for fiercely protecting her close friends, is now creating distance, it means she sees just how messy this situation is. Blake thought she could weaponize Taylor's influence like she always does. But now, it looks like that plan is falling apart too. And Ryan Reynolds, the man who has spent years protecting Blake's image, even he's reportedly not happy about being caught up in this drama. He's spent years building his career on likability, charm, and business success. The last thing he wants is to be dragged into Blake's legal and PR disaster. But let's not forget the most ironic twist of all. Penn Badgley, the man Blake tried to ruin years ago, is now friends with Justin Baldoni. The very people she tried to take down have now joined forces, and they're thriving while she drowns in controversy. Penn doesn't even follow Blake on social media anymore. He's completely cut her off, but he follows Justin. And the fact that they've been seen together, that they share the same faith, that they've worked on charity projects together, that says everything about who Hollywood really trusts in this situation. And now, let's talk about the lawsuit. This isn't just a PR scandal. This is a legal war, and Justin is bringing everything to the table. He's suing for defamation, civil extortion, and breach of contract, with $400 million in damages at stake. That's not something Blake can just sweep under the rug. That's not a rumor or a bad headline she can spin away. That's real, undeniable, and dangerous for her career. And here's the part Blake really didn't see coming. Hollywood is starting to distance itself from her. Studios don't want to touch someone who brings this much chaos. Brands don't want to be associated with someone being compared to Amber Heard. The industry is watching this lawsuit play out, and the more evidence comes out, the more people are realizing that Blake isn't the victim she pretends to be. Blake thought she could control the narrative forever. She thought she could destroy Justin the way she destroyed Penn. She thought she could manipulate, lie, and twist the truth like she always does. But this time, the truth won, and Blake Lively is finally being exposed for the fraud she really is.
All right, so on Friday, we left you guys off. I was bringing you up to date on everything that was strange about Hugh Jackman.
I know, right? Whose balls did I have to fondle to get my very own movie?
And I was genuinely so shocked when I got to the end of the show and somebody...
I can't tell you, but it does rhyme with pulverine.
I can tell you what's happening here. I have the answer, right? Normally, this is not the sort of thing I would give two about, but every woman in my family is obsessed. What's that last line? Oh, he's gay.
I think I'm in the right place.
Francis! Francis!
And obviously, with this Justin Baldoni case, there have been a lot of straight husbands, extremely heterosexual men who are being ruthlessly stalked and pursued and yelled at by their wives over this entire saga. Like, you have to watch this, look at this. And one of those husbands has instantly issued a verdict. So his wife must have just been going through everything. And he was like, I know what's going on here. It's very funny. You have to see his video. Plus, I'm going to take you through another court update. Brian Friedman just completely savaged the New York Times, who want to be dismissed from the lawsuit because now everybody's like, ooh, poor me. And I was genuinely so shocked when I got to the end of the show and somebody gave a question and said, ha ha ha, she keeps saying Hugh Hefner. I swore I nailed that. So I'm just going to go ahead and have to really blame that on late stage pregnancy brain, for which there is clearly no cure. But yes, regarding Hugh Jackman, I was kind of letting you guys know there have been some rumors for a very long time that don't look like they are just rumors. And throughout this series, I have been trying to, like, I guess you could say, find that line, carefully weaving through that line to kind of let you guys know that there may be some sociological factors at play here, that there's more going on emotionally with Ryan Reynolds than meets the eye, his various bromances, et cetera, et cetera. And the only reason that that's relevant at all, by the way, it's not like this is the 80s and someone's hiding in the closet. It's just because we're all very invested in what a lot of women are invested in here, by the way, is trying to understand the emotional aspects here. Why is he so angry? That is what was so shocking about being able to read these text messages. It was just his anger and the amount of control that he asserted. It felt like we were watching IDTV, like a murder mystery. We didn't know why Ryan was doing and saying the things that he was doing to such a nice person. We didn't understand the daddy issues.
Dad?
Now we know that he's got all these daddy issues, but what's actually happening here? And why are all of these buried issues that he has culminating into what can only be described as a figurative drive-by shooting of Justin Baldoni and Justin Heath? Okay, so we get it. Ryan is angry. He has been angry since he was a child. We had his teacher in Canada confirm that to us, that he was displaying sociopathic tendencies early on, allegedly. So I've been kind of slow walking you guys to understand that there could be a source of that anger. But I was trying to be nice. Women, we are naturally more compassionate than men on these things. But this husband on TikTok, he just sliced through everything with precision immediately. He's like, we're not going to slow walk people anymore. We don't need to slow walk Candace. He didn't say Candace at all. I just inserted myself in there like I'm inserting myself in this lawsuit. But he's absolutely hilarious. I guess his wife was hunting him. He just looked into it peripherally and was ready to enter a verdict. So let's listen to what this TikToker had to say. His handle, by the way, in case you want to follow him, is Put the Dog on the Phone. Here is his assessment.
So apparently, like, junior high kids, they've like leaked all these text messages. And here's one supposedly from Ryan Reynolds. And what's that last line? What's that last line? Oh, he's gay. Oh, yeah. See, straight guys don't say that. Straight guys don't say that. And that's, I'm not some like conservative, and I'm like, men gotta be men. Just straight guys don't say that. They don't say that. I can tell you what's happening here. I have the answer, right? Normally, this is not the sort of thing I would give two about, but every woman in my family is obsessed. So Ryan Gosling wins an award, and as a bit, Ryan Reynolds, Andrew Garfield. That's funny. That's funny to steal Ryan Gosling's little moment there. I'm willing to commit to a bit. An impassioned kiss. And as soon as you look at him in that light, you're like, yeah. And on a side note, I worked in Los Angeles for years and spent a lot of time in West Hollywood doing jobs. Gay guys are great. I love gay guys. There's also bad ones because they're just normal people. I have zero problem. There's nothing wrong with being gay in any way, but he definitely is. Oh, he is. This is from 2017. Okay, Exhibit C. So when you get a beard, a woman that will disguise your gayness, going younger is better. Not only young, but objectively stupid. She's not very intelligent compared to him. He's very quick-witted. He's also very charismatic. like a gay guy. Gay men just, they have a light in their eyes that straight men don't have. We don't. There's a twinkle, okay? Gay men look like that. Spend enough time around them. I have great gaydar. Straight men look like that. And you might go, oh, look at his shirt. Oh, look at his head. No, look at his dead eyes. Straight. Gay. So that's all that's happening. He's a closeted gay man. And that's just, when you deny yourself that truth, you're just gonna do weird, crazy shit. And everyone around you is gonna have a hard time because you're like trying to fit this square piece in a circle.
Straight men have dead eyes. There's nothing behind the eyes. And his assessment is that gay men have a twinkle. And it's very, what he's saying is what I was trying to introduce in a more polite way by taking you guys through these like lavender marriages that actually happen in Hollywood. I know they happen for a fact. And there's just something here, this underlying anger that doesn't make sense. The Deadpool scene was kind of just a little overdone for me. The relationship with Hugh Jackman was kind of overdone for me. And I just find it hilarious that this guy just looks at the circumstance, reads the messages, and is like, okay, I know what's going on here. And now, but instead we've got to go through this court case and it's got to be like $400 million and it's all crazy, all because Ryan is not happy with who he is on the inside. Vicious person who's lashing out in a variety of ways. That's what I would probably agree with. Anyways, I also just want to show you that because it's absolutely hilarious, but I also wanted to provide you guys with an update on a major piece of the lawsuit here. Let's not forget that the New York Times is being sued because a lot of important filings have been happening. So obviously they hit him hard: defamation, false light, invasion of privacy. I'm speaking about Justin's team when they filed that $200 million lawsuit against the New York Times. And in response, the New York Times filed to dismiss the case altogether, citing that they had fair reporter privilege. Okay, so what is fair reporter privilege? This is the exact definition so that you guys know. Fair reporter privilege, also known as public proceedings or public records privilege, protects news media from libel lawsuits when they publish fair and accurate accounts of official documents or statements that were made during official proceedings. Okay, so I would claim fair reporter privilege as I'm going through all of these Jessica Mann emails, the Harvey Weinstein series. I'm just reading from the actual filings, right? And so they're like, oh, that's all we were doing. We got the CRD complaint and we just, we want to be dismissed from this because we're just reporting the facts here. But Brian Friedman and co. argue back that the New York Times has completely abandoned that privilege. I just love this photo of Brian Friedman, by the way. Bring it back up. It's me. I don't know why. He says so much here. It's just like, it's not going down like this. So Brian Friedman's team hit them back pretty hard and basically said that they should not be dismissed. Obviously, I very much agree with them, having looked through everything. And I just want to tell you, I love legal filings. It's weird how much I love legal filings. Like, I read them before I go to bed. I probably in another life could have been a very good lawyer, or at least one who really enjoyed being a lawyer is what I could say. And it's just the way as soon as you read the first sentence of his statement, and I'm assuming Brian Friedman wrote this up, it's great. It's phenomenal. Listen to the sentence. A pietistic bastion of the media establishment. A pietistic bastion of the media establishment, the New York Times. Like, why have I not called anything about a pietistic bastion? You holier than thou, New York Times.